Dude,
Are you serious?
if all he does is pull fighting games out of portals, and that's all he does, he's not a threat to anybody. He's a boon. He's amazing.
People
I
would
don't
go to
know
that.
how either of you have time to do anything to this warlock when you'd be busy playing Marvel 3 with rollback.
You're
Why
right.
are you worried about this warlock?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday show. My name is James Chen, and I am joined by the illustrious duo of UltraDavid and TuboWare. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. What about you, Tub?
I thought your name was JC Hensor.
It is.
Who is James Chen?
Thanks a lot, Tub. I appreciate it. We're going to be talking about Frosty Faustings. We'll talk a lot about Frosty Faustings from a bunch of different angles. We're going to have an interview with Mono, which I'm excited about. He's going to be talking about why he stuck with that lump of a character for so long, as well as a bunch of other stuff. We'll have some fun 5-5 topics to get to. We have some fun mailbag questions to get to too. There's some nice punchlines in there. Good work, everybody. But let's start by getting to Frosty Faustings.
Alrighty. Frosty Faustings was this past weekend, obviously.
Sure was.
One of, basically, in case you guys are unaware, like the fourth largest North American tournament in terms of attendance. Yeah, it's always been EVO, Combo Breaker, and CEO. I think Combo Breaker overtook CEO at one point in time. Might be, whatever. Those two are like tied for 2 and 3.
Neck and neck. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, and then Frosty Faustings was always fourth. And obviously, last year in January, everything seemed like, by the time 2022 rolled around, we would all be cool and healthy, and vaccines were everywhere, and everybody was clearly going to take the vaccine, no question. That didn't happen, but Frosty Faustings was already booked. They ran it, and they did a fantastic job. I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit more, making sure to make the venue as safe as possible for everybody. But it happened this past weekend, was great, and definitely like CEO in December. What was December before it? Boy, it just filled in a gap that I feel like everybody's been missing for a while. Not only for everyone who attended, but for a lot of people who watched at home as well. It just feels good to have these events back. And every time, like, I watched a lot of it, and it's just, God, it's just like, you miss it so much.
I just want to say first that it wasn't always the case that Frosty's was fourth. It was probably only the last couple of years before COVID.
Yeah, before then, I was probably final round.
Yeah, it was probably final round. Yeah. And the reason that I bring that up is that this is my first Frosties that I went to, and many people who I talked with there talked about how big it felt this year. Is in a new venue, and it was honestly a very, very large room. There was a main ballroom that was
several rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. There was the main ballroom that was like as big as whatever. I mean, maybe not like Evo or Combo Breaker, like the main hall Combo Breaker size, but like main hall CEO size, main hall final round size, etc. And then there were several other ballrooms that were being used too, where there was a whole arcade room, and there was a whole casuals room, and there was a whole other room even that had like a bunch of other tournament games in it. So it was spread all the way through this hotel. And again, my first one, but I heard from quite a few people that it felt big. I mean, just to see it, I don't know if you guys at home could tell, but the main ballroom, like, it was as fancy looking as any event too. It had all of the big screens up there, and it had the stages,
all the esports lights.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess the best way to put it is that in 2020, I mean, because of how many people attended Frosty Faustings, I mean, the ballroom was gigantic in 2020 as well, but it was freaking packed in there.
I was gonna say,
probably.
Yeah, I mean Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just about to say, they probably tried to make sure they got a place bigger to account for that size over there. Now, obviously, because Omicron and everything like that, their attendance numbers probably went down significantly, but still, the production was still there. And again, when we had Elven Shadow on the stream, like, canceling it was going to cost them like 6 figures or something like that. So it just was not one of those things that would be good for them to do.
Yeah, and I mean, like 16-bit is saying in the chat, Frosty's has come in an extremely large way. It used to be, I don't know how many of you in the chat or viewers or listeners have been to Galloping Ghost Arcade in, was it Northbrook, Illinois? Chicagoland area, Illinois. It's filled to the brim with arcade cabinets, and somehow Frosty Faustings was like shoved into the back of this, arcade warehouse essentially. Like if like the roots, it's in Nickel City. It used to be at Nickel City, which is another very small arcade. Like it's come an extremely long way from arcades to giant ballrooms, several giant ballrooms.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was tough because, a lot of the streams that I watched were, some of the smaller games, like I was watching Soul Calibur and stuff, and, the view behind the players made it look kind of small and such, but I don't want anybody out there to think that that's the case at all, because again, Frosty Faustings is pretty big, and it's what's cool about Frosty Faustings. Obviously, the name of the event gives this away, Faustings, but Elven Shadow is a big Guilty Gear head, and Guilty Gear / anime games are always the main ticket at Frosty Faustings. And so really a lot of players of Guilty Gear kind of consider Frosty Faustings as like one of their main event. Like this is their can't miss event, kind of like how KI and Skullgirls treat Combo Breaker as their can't miss event, and so Frosty Faustings, typically gets the bulk of the anime fan base out there, which is why it's so widely attended. And not only that, but they run like 600 fighting games during the course of 2 days. So if you have any game that you like to play, it'll probably be there.
They had a good lineup, that's for sure. So just talking a little bit more about how things went there. Obviously, we are in COVID times. Everybody, did you guys know that, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay,
really?
well.
Wait, is that true?
COVID times.
Yeah.
By the way, before you start talking about this, I want to point out that we still talk about COVID a ton, and it's still in pop culture a ton. The stuff that happened with the Spanish flu or whatever, where people stopped talking about it, that's not happening this time. Everybody talks about COVID all the goddamn time. To the point where I was like, hey, we should probably stop talking about COVID so much. Like, we talk about it all the time. I mean, it's relevant. We should. But I'm just saying it's different this time. Okay, go.
I don't think the contention was that nobody was talking about the flu, to be clear. I think it was just that specifically with like popular music, it wasn't a big deal. Anyway, all right. So for COVID, as we talked about last week with Mike.
I wish I wanted to pull out a Buster on that one and just talk about that, but I'm gonna let it go.
Busters are gone. No more Busters.
Well, the Busters, because I don't know, they're not 100% the problem, I don't think, with my OBS not shutting down properly. So I might be able to bring them back and just allow them to come back. So
the COVID precautions there honestly made me feel really good. I was worried about it going into it, and I just I went. I mean, I wasn't so worried that I didn't go, but when I was there, I really felt good about it. So the way that it worked is you walk into the building, directly in front of you is the line to get tested. I mean, 10 feet away from like the door is the line to get tested. And it's the first thing you have to do before you get into the registration or anything like that, before you go into any of the ballrooms, which were in different directions, but which both had people watching them to make sure that you did get tested and got the wristband that came from that. And that was the first thing. I mean, before I did anything else, I guess I went to my hotel room, but other than that, I came right down and I got tested. And that's how almost everybody else treated it. You do it right away. And so basically the whole time that we were there, and certainly when we're in the ballrooms themselves, when we're in the actual like playing areas, everybody there had to have gotten tested and had a negative test. You could get both a PCR test, you find out the next day, and you could also get the rapid test, you'd find out right away if you're negative. And
by the way, I mean, just want to echo something that 16-Bit mentioned in the chat. where she said that the testing was super impressive. No lines, literally took only a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
which
very fast.
That was one part that I was concerned about, because remember when we started doing bag checks and joystick checks and stuff like that, I remember the first CEO that did that, the line just took forever to get into the venue.
The last Evo was, it took forever to get in and out just because of that. Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So that's
but no, this
really
was very fast and efficient. They had, I would guess, a dozen people testing at any one time. It was something like that. No, I'm sorry, half a dozen, but whatever. A lot of people were there, and so I felt good. I mean, I saw a couple of people with the masks under the nose. I mean, as people do, whatever. But almost everybody there had the mask on and was treating it well. And I didn't see anybody the whole weekend who just straight up didn't have a mask. I did hear tell of a couple of people who didn't have masks, and then that in one case staff, and in another case, just like other people, made them put their mask back on. So
good.
Shout out. Yeah, exactly. So I really honestly felt pretty safe the whole time. I've taken a test now. It's Tuesday. It's negative, and I feel totally fine. So yeah, I mean, great work. I don't know. What did you think, Tubbo?
Yeah, I mean, everything was handled as well as you could hope it would be. I want to say that you said that you could get a PCR rapid test. It was required to get both. You had to get both.
Oh, they actually asked me which. Okay, all right.
Oh yeah, as far as I know, when I went, and my buddy
Hollywood
went, everybody
David.
else, everybody was doing both.
They gave David a choice, man.
Well, you didn't have to, man. They didn't even give me a choice. They're just like, here, do this now, do this.
Well, probably better to get both.
Okay,
like,
never mind. Never mind then. Not Hollywood David, anti-Hollywood Tubo.
Yeah, I guess so, man. No, they just gave me both. All right, well, cool, whatever. Yeah, I took both.
Best to get both anyway, and obviously.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It doesn't take that long,
Right.
Yeah, I think everything was great. Security was way more on it than I thought they would be.
Yeah, yeah.
Security was on it if you didn't have your badge or
they
your.
They don't want to get sick either, dude.
I mean, obviously they don't, man. But these security guards are working long ass days on at these events, and then Frosty's is 24/7, so they have to have people working overnights and blah blah blah.
Right.
So usually at most events I've been to that have 24/7 security, they get tired. They're human beings. I'm not gonna say they're lazy or anything, but they just start hand waving more. That's just natural. But if Frosty's these people were on it from 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. every day. It was actually impressive. It was really, really cool.
I will say, in Evo 2002, the one that was at UCLA, something definitely got big and expensive, got stolen from the ballroom, and definitely caused a lot of issues. But I won't go into that one in too much detail. So,
anyway, I felt good talking with other people about it. They felt good. The only thing is that in these situations, nobody knows how to greet anybody right now.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to make that work. So I don't know, I gave a couple people hugs, only people who I knew super well. Everybody else, I gave them the little elbow greeting, but other people wanted to give me a fist bump. A couple of people went to give me handshakes. A couple of other people were just like, hey, and I was like, hey, that kind of thing. So it was just all over the gamut. There was no rules. We need to reinvent the rules for saying hello to
the way that it works.
The thing they did at CEO with the green, yellow, red. I think that's a good system.
I think that was good.
Green hug, yellow elbow dap or whatever, and then red stay the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, we just look. Asian people have been wearing masks forever. And we've also been bowing at each other forever. We just need to follow what the Asians do, man. I mean, we are always doing it right.
I mean, I'm with you for the first part of it with the masks.
You know what?
Imagine bowing to people at a fighting game event. I don't know.
That would be real questionable.
Weird. If that was normal, let's put it this way: when I went to France,
TuboWare, bow.
When I went to France and I saw Kayane, and I wanted to give her a hug, people actually told me that was not the right thing to do. That it was better to give
overreached.
That you're better to give them kisses, do the cheek kissing thing.
Yeah, the cheek kiss, not lip kiss.
Right,
obviously.
but that's more casual than hugging somebody. Hugging someone is like, what are you doing? And I was like, what the hell? Like, this is so weird. Like, dude, whatever you're used to is what you're used to. Trust me. If we were bowing at each other this whole time, it would feel normal.
All right, I'll give you the bees next time. So big event, lots of different streams, lots of games being played, as James said. I hope that people saw the Big Willie cam that you put on the beginning of this stream, because shout outs to Callisto. So Big Willie.
We need to talk about Big Willie cam a little bit.
Hey, I'm just gonna throw. Whoops.
Yeah, we'll show you the Big Willie cam. So Big Willie, or Willie, I guess, is the cat of Ryan, aka Callisto, and D. And there you go. There's Willie. Yay. Oh, it's Willie.
Yeah, listen, he definitely is named Big Willie. That cat is large.
I've met Willie.
That is a large feline. Yeah, you've seen him. So I want to clear some things up about Big Willie first and foremost.
Okay, all right.
I heard people walking around the venue at Frosty's. I saw tweets. I seen people talking in stream chat asking about Big Willie. Big Willie, for the record, was not at the Frosty's venue, okay?
Correct.
That was a camera set up on Callisto's desk where Big Willie normally has his bed.
Like at their home.
Like at their home, yeah. It was just his cat feed coming in, and Brian just took that feed and put it on stream. The other thing, people were like, there's no way that cat hasn't moved the whole time. And you're correct. Because they had B-roll footage of Willie laying around in the camera for hours just in case he got up. However, he actually didn't get up that much. He only gets up to eat. Big Willie just big chills the whole time. He just sits there and chills. Yeah, big chilly, exactly.
You know, Ryan also told me.
I just want to clear that up.
Ryan also told me that his mom went over to feed Willie a couple of times, and he was really hoping that he would be able to get his mom's hand like on the live stream on the Big Willie cam as she's like petting Willie, you know. But it just so happened that the times when it was like Big Willie cam weren't the times that his mom was there. Right. So it didn't end up working out like disembodied hand petting Willie.
He could have cut away from whatever top 8. Yeah. The audience would have cheered to see the hand, you know, like the players.
Every time Willie was on the screen, the audience cheered.
Dude, the players.
You actually must be right.
The players would have paused the game, and then they would have sat there and went, "Aw," and then like, we're not taking the game, just keep going, you know, like there would have been humongous cooperation just to see Big Willie get fed. No, from the stream, we could hear it. Like, we literally could hear it. Every time Big Willie showed up on the stream, you would hear the audience start to chant Big Willie. Like, you could tell from home how hype everyone got for Big Willie, dude. Cats are the best, dude. Cats are absolutely the best.
Shout outs to Willie. As far as as one of you brought up briefly that, you know, there weren't as many people who attended as initially signed up, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, from my perspective, having been there, it felt like it was a good mix of, like, there were lots of people, but also it didn't feel overly crowded. And I'm sure part of that was the fact that there were all these ballrooms and we were all spread out, you know, as probably part of why there were so many ballrooms, I guess. But also, still, not everybody showed up. So there was a list in a tweet that was put out earlier today talking about how many DQs there were. And it was like Guilty Gear Strive had 456 people play, 228 people DQ'd. Melty Blood had 228 people play, 300 people DQ'd. That's on the higher end. There were, you know, games down at the lower end. SC6 had 50 people play, 11 were DQ'd. Mortal Kombat had 44 people play, 24 were DQ'd. Oh, there, it's on the stream right there. So that's interesting. I mean, there were not as many people as showed up, and yet, from, you know, the perspective again of somebody who was there, it felt like it was at a good amount of people. Didn't feel like there were none. I did get a buy in my Mortal Kombat pool, which like probably wouldn't have happened if there hadn't been a DQ. But other than that, yeah, it felt good still.
Hey, you got top 16 in MK, didn't you?
Negative. No,
okay.
I didn't.
Wait, what?
I got top 32.
Rubbing salt in the wood, huh, James?
Oh, top 32.
I got top 32. I got 25th place, to be precise.
Oh, it was the 25th spot.
But how many people did you beat, David?
Yeah, I went 1 and 2, but like I said, I got a bye. So I ended up effectively at 2 and 2.
You caused that bye. You called up your opponent, like, you show up.
Yeah. Oh, I thought the one was the bye. Oh, okay, so you actually did beat somebody.
I
did beat somebody.
Yeah, he did beat someone. If he would have tried to call the win as a bye, we'd have words. I would never make fun of him forever.
The guy who I beat was not super stoked to have lost. But I think that was probably more just because I was shooting guns at him from full screen. And he didn't seem like he was thrilled about that.
Pew, pew, pew with my RoboCop.
Yeah,
so 25th place, that's really impressive out of 44.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
out of 44 players.
Out of 44.
You know?
Whoa. 44 actual players. Okay, there was like 60-something registered, all right?
Yeah.
Those EQs count as humans. They just don't count as wins.
I was planning to talk about it later, but yeah, I mean, this was my first tournament that I have competed in big tournament anyway, since the year 2012. 2012. 10 years. Evo 2012. Yeah, it was forever ago.
Time.
And as I've talked about many times, just briefly, I then quit. I had at that point already been feeling pain and loss of control in my hands for a couple of years, to be honest. And that had to do with some issues in my neck and a bunch of other joint issues and various blood flow problems and stuff. And I quit, and it got to the point where like I couldn't really open jars myself. Like my hands were just basically mitts for years, and it was a big bummer. So that's really how it was. It really felt like that sometimes, where I would like do this. I remember doing this distinctly, just doing this, like not even thinking my fingers worked. And then a few years ago, I started doing physical therapy again because my body got to such a bad place that I needed to go to the doctor. And the doctor was like, you need to go to physical therapy. And I said, okay. So I started doing it. And I had no expectation that I'd be able to play again. It was not even on the table in my mind. And they said that I might be able to. So I have worked really, really hard over the last few years. And now I'm at a place where I can do it again. And it feels super great. And even though I went 1 and 2, I honestly felt super good about it. The first one that I lost was 3 and 2, and it was down to the final game. I could have taken the previous game because I was up 2-1. I actually made an execution error, but not a hands-based execution error. I dropped a combo, and it was in this clutch situation where like people drop combos. Like I don't think that it was actually a hands problem.
Can I ask you a serious question?
Yeah.
Like all jokes aside, how do you know the difference? How do you know when you genuinely fuck up versus your body is just like, yeah, screw you?
I don't necessarily, but that's a situation where so many people screw it up so I didn't have hands problems throughout the most of the set. Sure. The only time that I dropped anything was in a tight situation where I needed to hit a combo or else maybe lose the round. And that did happen a couple of times. So it's not like my hands were perfect, but
sure.
That's a situation that everybody faces. Like a lot of people drop combos in that situation, even after their execution's been fine the rest of the match. So I feel like it certainly could be hands problems, but I think that
it was nerves.
Chances are it was tournament nerves, not literal nerves in my neck.
The other thing too, I think that's really important is what your brain is telling your hands to do, and if they do it and your combo is messed up because of timing or something, or you can go, whoops, no, I know like my hands did this, but my brain wanted to do this, as opposed to my hands literally did nothing or nothing even comparable to what my brain wanted to do. Like, I know David's told the story of wanting to punish like someone's DP with Zangief and just like light kicking them, you know what I mean? Because like his hands literally just did nothing even equatable to what he was thinking.
In 2012, I played at Civil War. That was one of the last tournaments that I entered. And I played against this guy who realized that I could not block. I mean, he got to the point where he did a meaty dragon punch on me, and it hit. Because I was looking down at my hands, and sure enough, I wasn't blocking. I really thought I was, and I wasn't.
You know what's really wild is 10 years later. 10 years later, you played someone in 2022 at Frosty Faustings in Street Fighter 4, and they also realized you just couldn't block, so they just block a ball crossed you up and hopped all over you. So
false.
It's crazy how 10 years later
I blocked your cross-up ball the very first time you tried.
You did block one of the cross-up balls, but you didn't block all the
first one I blocked.
I said you blocked it, but you didn't block the hop stuff, the hop shenanigans. There's no blocking that.
Anyway, I'm really happy that I feel like I can play again, and it will never be the case that my hands are 100%, because that's just like not in the cards. But they can be good enough to compete, and probably not like win Evo, but to let me have a good time competing and feel like I'm doing good stuff. So
It's interesting because every time you talk about that, I always think about like, what's the last big tournament that I've ever entered? Because I haven't entered tournaments in a long time, and the ones that I always think about. Sounds like you're entering
Combo Breaker 2022.
I mean, the ones that I always do enter are Super Turbo, and both of the Super Turbo events that I entered recently that were big Super Turbo tournaments, I did extremely well in both of them. So
I mean, you're good. Yeah, come on.
I got top 8 at the Fightcade Festival in Spain, and then I remember at the San Antonio one, the one at Free Play Arcade, like I beat a bunch of people that people were like, I lost to Matsun, okay, like
okay,
and then I lost to Tanya.
Yeah, pretty good players.
Yeah, and Tanya is particularly bad matchup as well. So
yep. Well, you should get back into it. All right. Do you guys want to talk briefly about some of the matches, some of the results? Anything stick out to you? I mean, let's go. Let's sort of go.
SoulCal distancing Florida man. Let's go. No, just kidding. No, he plays on my stream all the time, but he got second place at Frosty Faustings and SoulCal.
Oh, who won?
One was Incendiate, who's just amazing at the game, but Florida man did reset him and take him to the last set. So.
Okay, nice work.
No, I don't claim him. He's just.
This is, of course, if StageJam claims every single person that plays on stream ever as one of the Hoop Squad heroes, and he cheers them on a tournament stuff. Florida man, that's all you. That's one of the soul. What is it? SoulCal distancing. Yeah, that's one of the heroes right there.
You got the Chen for bump.
Yeah,
exactly. That's your boy.
So Strive was the headliner. Many hundreds of people ended up being won by Hotashi over Razo in grand finals. But I mean, that top 8, all of it that I saw was super good.
Dude, like, if anybody out there is, like, worried about Strive not being a Guilty Gear, blah, 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 you watch that top 8, and everything about that top 8 felt Guilty Gear to me, including Lost Soul just absolutely not letting people play. That was about as Guilty Gear as you could possibly want it to be, dude. It was so
Lost Soul owes me $20 right now. That's how I feel about Lost Soul.
Why?
Let me tell you. First match, Lost Soul Hotashi, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the crowd. I'm so excited to be there. I haven't done this in 3 years, right? And so I'm just saying TuboWare stuff. And then they did their little combo breaker pose for whatever reason. And then I was like, you know what? I like Lost Soul. Lost Soul's been playing ridiculous. This character is stupid. Let's go Happy Chaos. So I just yelled in the crowd, I like Lost Soul for 20. Lost Soul goes up quick 2-0, absolutely destroying Hotashi. Up 1 round, ready to move on 3-0, quick 3-0 on Hotashi, and Hotashi brings it all the way back. So Lost Soul owes me $20. That's how I feel about that. Next time I see Lost Soul, I'm collecting. I can't believe he did that to me. I looked like a fool. I was talking so much shit. I was like, yo, get your shit ready. I was like, I'm pulling out my app, like I was going off. And
you touched the money beforehand, dude. You touched the.
I thought about LA Joe. Every time I bet with Joe, he will never call a bet until it's over.
Yeah, you touched the money, dude. As soon as I
actually won the first game, I was like, oh shit. I should have listened to Joe. You should always listen to Joe.
Yeah. No matter what, you're always like, well, he could come back. Did
you guys watch, or James, did you watch any of the Plus R tournament?
I did not get to watch the Plus R. In fact, I haven't even seen the results. How far did Pat the Flip make it?
Oh, I know. I can give you the results right now. So winner was Black Snake with Venom. Second place was FF Elven Shadow with Faust.
Woo,
and then PGG Pat the Flip, 7th place.
Nice.
Top 8.
I like how you get first and second, and then you're like 7th.
Dude,
I was ready for you to say I got 3rd.
I want to talk about this, actually. This is really important. Maybe this should have been a 5-5 topic here, but I just want to say, Pat the Flip runs Exit tournaments every week, okay?
Yeah.
Razalicious, who got second place in the tournament, including a bunch of other strong players, play in that Series E event that St. Cole and I commentate every single week. These people who are playing in these online tournaments every week doing really well at majors is not a coincidence. Honestly, not a coincidence here, so... I'm sorry, was it
sure.
or just Raz? Sorry, Razzo. Sorry, Razzo, not Razalicious. I'm
did
totally
you
used
say?
to our viewer here, so I said Razalicious. Razzo.
Listen, man, I was listening over my
Congratulations in the
commentary.
chat.
Yeah,
I was
sorry,
listening over my
sorry.
commentary today, and I called KB's K-Brad once, so yeah.
At least you haven't called.
on commentary.
At least you haven't called Punk smug before, which I have done.
I have
so.
not done that. Yeah, that's almost worse. At least I have KB.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. KB.
See,
KB's
my brain is 4 letters, 1 vowel, and a U. Like that's the way.
But
Sure.
the words smug and punk look totally different. One of them is real pointy. The other one is like all waves. Come on.
Waves.
Get it together.
Whoa.
Which one is waves? Is Smug waves? Smug's
Smug
got to
is
be
waves.
waves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's got to be.
interesting. Okay.
Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 was won by Mystic, and then you are curious about Pat Flip, 5th place as well.
Dude, see, this is what we're talking about.
You had a good weekend, man.
Dude.
Also, I saw him in the elevator, and I don't think he realized it was me. I was like, hello. And somebody else was like, hey, are you? I think Tobo was like, are you Pat the Flip, the writer? Didn't you say that?
No, that wasn't me.
Okay, there was somebody else.
I didn't see Pat once all weekend.
Somebody else. And then I was like, hey, Pat. And he like didn't really look all the way over at me. And he was like, oh, hey, like, I hope you're having a good weekend. You know, like you do to somebody you don't know who it is.
Did everybody have their masks? Is that why?
Of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That happened constantly throughout the weekend.
Also, something we need to point out, David has actually like turned into Doctor Strange over the years. I didn't know this about David because I haven't seen the back of his head literally in 2.5 years. But if he was to remove his headphones right now, you'd see the salt and pepper going all the way around like Doctor Strange or Mr. Fantastic. He is extra gray back there now. I had no idea. I saw the back of his head after I got up to our hotel room. I was like, what? When was this a thing? He's like, oh, it's been happening for a while now. I'm like, oh, yeah, because I see you every day. Come on, man. Yeah, see, Cola doesn't know either. I think it's cool, too. I just was taken aback. I didn't expect it.
I'm not trying to hide it. That's just how it's been going.
You know what? You should be showing it off is what I'm saying here, all right? You should be enhancing it.
New profile
doing
pic.
cosplay as Mr. Fantastic. Like, you should be taking advantage of this, man.
Punk won Street Fighter V with Cannon Rose. Shout outs to Just Pokey, who has like majorly stepped up, and he got 2nd place with Falk. That was sick.
Nice.
And Mono got 3rd with Fang, losing to Punk's Ken.
Revenge.
But really good top 8. Also, it was a blast to commentate with Yipes. It was a blast to commentate with the other JC, James C, specifically Jimmy C.
You can't escape the JCs.
The humbag. Yeah, that was great. I had a really, really good time on commentary.
Yeah, me too. Big ups to the homies.
Yeah, you did commentary on Marvel with Yipes, I believe.
Yeah. And I got to get the Gearsell Romanova as well, so.
Cool, man. What, anything else to say about Frosties?
It was fun.
There's a lot to say about it, honestly. We could keep talking about it a little bit longer if you want. I even just want to discuss the whole thing. Like, Ace King Offsuit had a really interesting tweet that a lot of people were upset, like not upset, but like, why isn't my game getting more stream time?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a 2-day event, man. There's not that many but what Ace King Offsuit was actually pointing out is that Frosties has always been this way. This is not new. If you've watched Frosties before, you know what to expect. The problem is there's so few offline tournaments right now that everybody is just like clamoring for footage. I want to see my game. And you just rarely get that. And I think that's what's happening. And I think Ace King Offsuit was absolutely right on that people just wanted to see their game so badly. And it's hard. You're not going to be able to do much about that. But, there is that argument then. Should Frosty Faustings, we talked to Elvin Shadow, and he's like, nah, it's going to be a 2-day event forever. Like, should it go 3 days because it's getting so big? Or suck it up, viewers, watch what you're given and be happy because it's free.
I have different insight on this, I think, given the job that I had at Frosty's this year.
Okay.
So I guess for anyone who doesn't know, I was like head of commentary or commentary manager, however you want to put it. I mean, obviously, Bozak and Hionis as well, but all 3 of us were put into really difficult situation on deciding who got to commentate when and where. And a lot of talented commentators didn't get hired. A lot of like new voices that if I had more pools to stream, I absolutely would have given them a chance to like commentate their first major. But when you stream 2 pools and then you're immediately into, outside of pool play for streams, it becomes harder to give like newer voices a chance. And I understand why Frosty's is 2 days. I don't think it should go to 3 because it's always been 2, and that's kind of its shtick. Yes. It would be like Evo not being in Vegas, right? It's like Frosty's is a 2-day event, Evo's in Vegas. That's how it is, right? But yeah, it does make things harder. It makes it harder to get more people on commentary, and a lot of people that maybe like deserved a job didn't get a job that they deserved based on their skill level because there just wasn't anywhere to put them,
See, I was trying to make your job easier, Tubo. I opened up all of my
way harder.
I know.
It's okay though. It
but
worked
I
out fine.
opened up my slots for other people. You see,
you did. But all your slots were top 8s who go to people that are already established anyways for the most part. So.
Dang. The thing I'll say about this is that I think that the reason so many people wanted to see the matches is in large part offline is so rare. And you want to watch as much of it as you can. And it feels cool. It's not just that like the matches are high level, but it's also just like seeing it in person is a different feeling, even if you're not actually there. Because I watched CEO and I had that feeling the whole time. So if we get back to a world where there's a regular offline contingent, I think that in that context, Frosty's being 2 days and having fewer streams and not as many hours streamed, is not as much of an annoyance to anybody at home.
Exactly.
It's just that we are still in the situation where, obviously we know what the world is like. Like it is rare. It's one of the first ones that we've had. And so, right, I totally get wanting to see more in that context.
But I mean, look, you were talking about the offline thing. I mean, and you and Tubo was talking about Lawsol Hotashi before, but seeing their interaction, the Alpha 2 stare downs and stuff like that. And God, you see that stuff and you just, oh God, that's my favorite part. Honestly, it's absolutely, one of the highlights for me of fighting game tournaments is seeing the players pop off on each other and stuff. And, Lost Soul with his patented nervous shaking hand, but still popping off at the camera, I just love seeing the human interaction, and it's like the best thing, man. It's so good.
On commentary, it's so nice to be able to look at the person and see how they're reacting. That adds so much. It really does add a lot. And I mean, that's true as well. Like,
so different
for the commentary partner as well. I mean, that's on one hand, right? Watching the players is something you can get more information from, but the actual sitting next to somebody and commentating feels so different than commentating online. Just like playing. I mean, I played in this tournament, and certainly for the guy that I beat, I could totally tell when he was getting frustrated, and that meant that I was doing my job. And
that meant you were so happy.
Well, that meant I was doing my job. And I mean, in game, that was, I could tell that too, but it was extra clear when he's, leaned forward in his seat and did some of this, and it was very clear. So that whole side of it is something I missed, of course.
It's interesting too because the best tournament players have learned not to give away that information. You can tell who doesn't have the tournament background because they give away a lot with their emotions like that. And yeah, actually, Fanta brought up Adventure versus Flash. That crazy comeback that Flash had against Adventure, who we see every week on Series E, by the way, who's just freaking amazing with Jacko. But I loved how Adventure got hyped and popped off when Flash won. And, I tweeted at them. I was like, this is one of the best matches. And Adventure was like, that was such one of the greatest comebacks. I had so much fun. How could I not get hype? And I was just like, that's so cool. dude. It's just so cool.
As a nicer guy than me, I would have punched Flash, but no, I'm just kidding.
I am glad though, because I remember when Flash, came out and was like talking about, when him and Sonic Fox kind of got into it. A lot of people didn't know who Flash was and was like, "You're just a scrub. Sonic Fox will wash you and everything." I was kind of glad Flash got top 8 this weekend, just to kind of remind people that he's kind of good. He's kind of good.
For sure.
Okay.
All right. Well, you good to go?
Yeah, like I said,
let's bring on Mono.
I could probably talk about this forever just because it was just so exciting to see. But let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be bringing Mono, the head TO of First Attack from Puerto Rico and recent winner of CEO, onto the stream. So stick around, guys. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tuesday show. As we move on to our interview portion of the show, today it is our pleasure to bring you on Mono from Puerto Rico. Let's say hi and bring him on. How you doing, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Very nice to see you, and thanks for coming on.
Yeah. I decided to do the interview from the Genesis / Red Rooster headquarters that we use to usually do many of the streams or gatherings with the roosters and stuff. So.
Dang. All right. Well, we'll definitely be talking about that stuff.
Yeah, and I apologize. I have to correct myself. Let me bring on to you the TO of First Attack, as well as current reigning CEO Street Fighter V champion MonoPR.
So now we're talking about titles. I was just expecting the sound effect of the crowd and stuff that people do on radio stations.
Yeah.
And they do applauses and stuff.
Definitely.
We love you, Mono.
But you weren't always CEO champion. So let's talk briefly about how it is that you started playing fighting games competitively.
Well, how I started, how long ago? Because that might just say how old I am then.
Well, I can tell people how old you are, but why don't you tell people when you guys started?
Well, I think I started fighting games way before, a little bit in high school, but I didn't really actually know that there was actually a competitive scene in fighting games until I was in college, which was 2003. Mm-hmm. And my first actual competitive tournament was Soul Calibur 2. It wasn't even Street Fighter.
Ooh.
So I was a Soul Calibur 2 head, used Voldo, because of course I'm going to use intricate, weird characters at some point. And then after that in college is when I find out that Third Strike exists and Evo. I found out about the existence of Evo when I was in college. I didn't even know that majors were held and people would travel out to that. I didn't even know that. So I started playing Third Strike. The first video that I see is Evo 2004. It's not the Daigo moment, not at all. It's the Evo trailer where they use the Sun Tzu quote, which I found that to be pretty cool when they did that. And they had Soul Calibur.
No, that's not one of mine. That's a tragic one.
Okay.
But anyways, the thing is that I saw that and I immediately fell in love with Yun when I saw that video, when I saw KO do the command throw, close medium kick, dash under. I was like, this character looks so cool. I'm definitely going to learn. I started playing Third Strike around 2003, 2004. I learned about Guilty Gear, started playing that too. Always played Marvel 2, got into Tekken 4. I was just playing everything because I was really competitive no matter what. Before knowing that tournaments existed, I was already competitive and I would just go to training mode and just find out routes. I remember Tekken 4 actually had the command lists back in the day, and you could actually, there were 5 slots where you could save your own creative combo within the command list. And I was so try hard with it that I would just do it with every character I was using. I was like, damn, what? I even asked myself, I don't even know why I do this, because it's not they're tournaments or anything like that. And surprise, surprise, finds out that there are tournaments. And so I actually went to my first tournament in Soul Calibur. I was not seeded because obviously I'm new. And I got seeded against top 3 of the top Soul Calibur 2 players. So I was but I lost, but I gave a good impression. So a lot of people started asking me, yo, where are you from? What's up? You have a good Voldo. And I was super hyped with the whole tournament experience. And So this was at a timeout. Do you guys remember when the Bandai Namco had the timeouts and all these arcade places that it's in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, there's places called timeouts, and they're like Namco based. Technically, they have arcades for other games, but it's like
Interesting. Okay.
the period is that they were in different malls. Like there were shopping centers, and there was this arcade place where you could just play Marvel or play like Time Crisis, all these shooting games, House of the Dead, and the thing is that the timeouts were the only people hosting events, but then it would be every 6 months. So I went to that tournament. I was like, hell yeah, I want to go to the next one. What's the next one? It's 7 months. And I'm like, wow, like I really want to play. And I know other people are like me. And so when I knew about the inconsistency of tournaments is when I said like, I guess why don't I just do it myself? And it was for two reasons. One is selfish because I wanted to play and I wanted to compete again. And two, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people wanted tournaments just as much as I did. So that's why I started finding out all the intricacies of like, shit, I need to, sorry for the language.
No, you can,
you swear.
you can swear. Yeah.
Oh,
we don't
shit,
care.
fuck.
Yeah.
I was like finding out all this stuff about how to do venues. The first event, I didn't even think about food. And people were like, "Oh, do you guys like have anything?" I'm like, "Damn, that's something good to think about for next one." But like, like I was just finding out how all this was. So
Right. And now you're about to have a meeting with your government about the future of esports on Puerto Rico.
I hope they don't ask me of how I started though.
What year was it that you started running tournaments?
I would say it was 2005, pretty much.
So that started very early for you.
Then. Okay. Yeah,
I didn't realize that began so early for you. That's
I
so
didn't
cool.
either. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, had you organized other things before? I mean, that kind of takes like a leadership or organization ability, and I feel like that's, I don't know, was there a precedent for that for you?
No mentorship whatsoever, but the good thing about the university is that you meet more people that are into the scene. And Puerto Rico, as well as every other state, country, Smash is a big thing. And at that time, it was Melee. And I got to know a lot of the people that were in the Melee community within the university. And there was like actually an association called the Gamers Guild and all that. And I could actually use a facility from the university as long as it was through an association. If not, you would have to rent it in money. And like, I'm just starting off, second year of college, whatever. And
similar to how SCR
the Smash community, the Smash community used to do something called Rum and Smash, which rum, not referring to alcohol, it's just that Recinto Universitario de Mayagüez, which is the Mayagüez University precinct, or from the west side of Puerto Rico, that was its abbreviation name. Mm-hmm. Okay. So they started doing that event and I saw it. I was like, oh, this is cool. This is more or less what I want to do. So I was asking them and they would tell me that by that time it was all Smash boards and all this stuff. Shuriken.com used to have forums for Latin America and there was actually a thread for Puerto Rico. That's where I started to find out because there were no websites. There's no Facebook. I actually made a website after three tournaments. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to make a website for Puerto Rico. Man. So everybody from Puerto Rico can just post. Instead of being in deep in SRK, because SRK, like you would see a post and then you wouldn't see a reply until like 3 weeks later or 2 weeks later sometimes in the Puerto Rico thread. And not a lot of people knew about, like locally, they didn't know about SRK. So I just tried to do whatever I could to like have people know. So I started building up like a community, but also working with other communities from the start. Like I did my first event thinking about Third Strike, but they're like, oh, you should put Marvel. Oh, you should put CVS2. You should put Tekken. You should put Snap. And then it all just snowballed into like, we just keep adding and doing events. Events got bigger. I remember the Rum and Smash thing, which was like a series. I think it got to like 5 to 7 events max. And those were like packed. It was just Melee and Melee doubles. And I think it got to a point where I actually added Brawl and stuff. But then I started to do events because the thing is the main goal when I saw the events outside was like, because I was seeing Evo, Final Round and all this, I was like, man, I really wish Puerto Rico had an event that people could travel out to and it'd be like a major. And that was like, so we started doing pro fund events, which were events to like get funds with like, there was a registration, but there was like additional price, and it was to gather the funds, and we would do like a ranking, and then at the end of the ranking, we would send people to Evo.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like a big event. So we would send them, because at first we were thinking like we're not going to be able to do a major, and people are going to be like, yeah, let's go to Puerto Rico. It's not going to be the first thing they think. So let's try to send the best Puerto Rico has to offer, see if they do good and give like good impression about Puerto Rico. And people be like, Puerto Rico has some good skill. Actually, we should go to Puerto Rico. Like, like Japan and everything, like DR, you find out about the players and you're like, damn, I really want to go see how much bigger or how good the scene is. So that was like the first step from us. And then after a few years, we were like, you know what? I think we are good to like do our first major. And that's when First Attack 2013 happened. And this year we actually get our 10-year anniversary.
Dang, look at that.
So it's been 10 years. Like I still get surprised when I realize that it's been 10 years since First Attack.
By the way,
pretty wild.
Obviously one of the first most well-known players from Puerto Rico was Eduardo, PR Balrog, VVV Scrub. Like how much did you have, like, did you grow up with him? Did you know him a lot? Did you guys send him to Evo 2009, or was that just something separate?
No.
Just curious.
No, because I think 2009 he actually managed to find a sponsorship. Before that, the players that I knew that were like competitive that would also travel was Banana Ken, which in our FGC he was called Frodo, and then Smash actually.
Wait, he was called what?
Frodo.
Yeah. Oh,
he had like a lot of hair. He had this hair.
Yeah.
His hair's really. So everybody in the I didn't even call it I didn't even know that was his nickname. But everybody in the Tekken community, because he's a Tekken player, he's not even 2D. He would play Third Strike, and he was like a Denjin Ryu, but he was in Tekken 5, and he would play Yoshimitsu. He also plays like intricate characters sometimes.
Yeah.
And in the Smash community, it was like Fox Hater, which was Gilbert, Edgar, and you guys met Edgar because he's one of the main pillars within First Attack that helps run like the whole Smash thing. So Edgar was also a competitor. He doesn't compete as much, but I think he got like 9th at 2007 at Evo for Melee, and there's like a lot of people that have been like here for years. There's Gandido, who also in Tekken 5
Paco
got second at, I think it was 2008 actually, not 2005.
Dude, Paco, aka Gandido,
Paco,
he's been going to Evos for years, man.
Actually, I saw him at a DVD for Evo 2003 or 2002 in Guilty Gear with So Bad Guy. And Kano 2K, who got third at that same Evo that Gandido got second, they're cousins. So they were both Puerto Rican.
Dang, all right.
So third was Puerto Rico.
Dude, oh man,
That's
that
awesome.
story, his cousin, oh my God, can I just interrupt this just for 1 second? We interviewed everybody those years, and I think he was the one that told me to take his video and turn it to private on YouTube, because he called in sick to his work to go to Evo, and his work saw that video and was like, what is this? And I think he eventually messaged me to tell me to private the video, or to delete the video. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the same guy. I could almost check. I have to see if his video is still private on my channel, dude. But
That's hilarious.
Getting people fired.
Yeah.
So you're playing these fighting games. Played Yun in Third Strike.
Yeah.
You played Dictator in SF4, among others, T-Hawk and stuff. And then Street Fighter V comes out, just to fast forward a little bit here. And you pick up Fang right away, or is it Dictator right away? What'd you do?
I was hyped as soon as I saw Dictator, to be honest. And when I remember when I saw a trailer when he does like this, they did with full darkness, and I'm like, shit.
It's cool.
And I did pick him, and I do play him like from time to time. I do still use them with players here. And so, okay, this is what happened. I feel that I made the mistake here. Season 1, Street Fighter V. I feel you're gonna understand the reason.
Okay.
Street Fighter 4. Jumping was not something you would do often because anti-airs and options against jumps were pretty. You had a lot to deal with jumps in 4. I felt anti-air wise, and a lot of characters had many like different options for anti-airs. And in Street Fighter V, when Season 1 came out, I felt like jump-ins were too strong. Anti-airs were a bit weak. and they weren't as consistent because jumps were too strong. Like jump fierce from Ken, jump fierce from Ali, jump round from Chen. And I was like, Jesus Christ, a lot of the anti-airs sometimes either trade or they fail. And Fang at the moment had consistent anti-airs. Crouch medium kick, crouch fierce, they would always work. And I was like, okay, the reason I picked Bison in 4 was because I like control style. Therefore, in Grand Blue, I pick Fairy. In MK9, I pick Noob Saibot because it's controlling space. Mm-hmm. Bison, he was kind of rushed down, but it was safe pressure in 4. Like, he would do scissor kicks, and it was just, what does he do after the scissor kick? And I'll just adapt to whatever pattern he has. But it's still control. Walk speed was really fast. His walk speed in 5 kind of didn't motivate me as much. When I saw his walk speed, I was like, and then I saw Fang's movement, and I was like, okay. And I was using Sagat and Poison at the end of Street Fighter 4. So the control archetype, I was getting a really big liking to it. So when 5 came out, the character that was closest to it, because Sagat wasn't out, Guile was still a DLC, he wasn't out. I was like, well, I guess Fang like does traps, has good projectiles, has command dash mix-ups, has good movement, he has consistent anti-airs. At the moment, those were the things that actually drew me to him. Not the fact that he's weird, he's whatever. The Poison concept was okay, but I was more about like, because in Guilty Gear I played Testament, which is a concept similar.
All right, thanks for the interview. Thanks for the interview. We'll talk.
I hope Testament actually gets on stride.
Only people who want Testament. I was
physically hurt when you said you played Testament. He said, "Oh, looked like you shot him."
Dude, the only people who want Testament back are people who played Testament. Trust me.
I mean, if he comes back, he's going to be really different. So
yeah, that's true.
Hey, if they give him the nets at least in the trees, I'm good. Because that's fair.
Oh, good luck on those.
That's Fairy. Right. I play Fairy and people actually like when I stopped playing Grand Blue after like Belial came out, I think. And when I decided to come back to it, a lot of people are like, bro, you should play Cagliostro. You used to play Testament. Cagliostro is the same thing. It's like, because she has like some nets that she does like in the air, and then she has like some spears that come from the ground. And it's like the same concept. It's like a mine in the floor and they pop up. And I'm like, you're actually catching my attention because it's really similar to Testament. So yeah. But that was the main reason about Fang. The thing is that I'm gonna admit I was stupid enough that as soon as anti-airs got better, jump-ins got nerfed, I'm like, this is just a good enough time to change. But I was just so used to Fang. I put too much work on him, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with him. Maybe have like I remember I dabbled Colleen. I dabbled. Like I still have Bison. I still have Seth.
It's the character Stockholm syndrome is what I always call it, right? Once you get used to a character, and if you've suffered along with them enough, it's like it's hard to switch away from the character because you put so much time into them.
Yeah, I mean, there's an investment there, and you need to also create an investment with another character to have success with them. But you already got an investment, right?
Yeah. The thing is that it's just I know so much the matchup with Fang that even though I know or play a character that has a more favorable matchup, I'm so confident in the matchup with Fang that I'm like, what if I pick the favorable matchup and I lose? You know, like in a first to 2 set, I think about it so much sometimes. Like I've only done it in like I switched to Rose versus Kaba at 2 tournaments, and I actually like did super well when I did it. But for me to do it, it had to be first to 3. Like in the first to 2, I was like, sure. But like it's that thing like Cammy, for instance, is one of Fang's worst matchups. But I play it so much to a point that I'm like, I feel like I can beat Cammy, and if the Cammy doesn't know to the level of Fang that I play that, then it's even more in my favor.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I mean, eventually this character gets buffed, right? It took like 4+ years.
4 seasons. 4 seasons, yeah.
Yeah. And eventually he got buffed to the point where he's a little bit more viable. And then, as James said earlier, you won CEO at the end of 2021.
You're not just winning CEO, by the way. You beat Punk, right?
You beat Punk in doing it, yeah. I mean, in coming into that event, did you feel like you had a good chance having, you knew what the buffs were to Fang at that point? It had happened already a while ago.
Like, did I feel like okay, so I feel, and I say this, I've said this if people have asked me, I felt that being invited to Red Bull Kumite actually helped me the most for every other tournament that, like for CEO, when I was preparing for CEO. Because that, and this will, probably every other player is going to identify themselves. You know that sometimes you see these players compete and you see this consistency and Tokido and be like, sometimes you watch them because you don't get the opportunity to play them. You're like, man, these guys has to be like at least 5 to 10 levels above the skill gap that I have, right? And when I went to Red Bull Comida, like I played casuals with a lot of them, with Big Bird, Angry Bird, NL, and I see that I'm either going par to par or I'm actually winning a set, or if I'm losing a set, it's not by much. And I'm like, wow, so, and I'm using Fang, and I'm like, wow, so the gap isn't as big as I thought, you know? So I felt Red Bull Kumite, even though I didn't perform as well, it really did give me a bit of more of a confident boost.
Interesting.
Of the fact of, like, if I'm not that far, then once I got the opportunity to play them more, because I don't get to play that caliber of player as often, because I don't travel to that many events, so I don't get to interact with them in brackets or whatever. And I felt that if I can actually go to par to par, then the people that give me trouble in Puerto Rico, then they're not that far either. So I felt that was a really good message for me to take when I was going to CEO. So when I went to CEO, I was just like trying to be like, you know, I have really good patience. I play with Mena a lot. Mena would usually tell me like, Mono, you're a really good fan. You're definitely super strong. But you know when people tell you something, but you kind of know it, but you don't really like, you believe it, but not to a full extent. Like, I don't know. I guess that. But Mena has always been very supportive, like, because he plays me and he's like, Mono, I can't really beat you unless I'm using like either Birdie, because he used Cammy once and he's like, God, I can't use Cammy. And it's like, so yeah, I felt like at going to CEO, and I felt the support from the other Puerto Rican players or people that just went to hang out.
I wanted to ask about that. I wanted to ask about this too, since you're bringing it up. I'm just going to ask right now: how much did having your family, like I'm calling all the players and everyone from Puerto Rico as your family, because that's what it is, cheering you and chanting for you while you're playing against Punk?
Honestly, I felt that they made me feel at the point. So you know that when you're in a tournament, you're like, you get too much pressure with like, I have to win, or I can't lose, I can't. And I felt that the Puerto Rican group was so proud at the fact that I made top 8. Right after I won versus Joe Morogan, they were like, bro, no matter what happens, we're super proud of you. Like, everybody was sending me messages, people who weren't there, but they were watching the stream, because like a lot of Puerto Ricans were like on Instagram or whatever, just watching it and just messaging me. Like, bro, you made us so proud. I'm like, everybody was so proud at the fact that I just was at top 3. That they were like, you know what, whatever happens, bro, we're super proud of you. The Puerto Rican flag's up there. And I'm like, so I didn't feel pressure. I just felt like, you know, I'm just going to play to the best of my extent. I'm going to think about the matchups as much as I can and just play it. But I didn't feel the pressure like, damn it, I have to. Because sometimes I feel like I psych myself out with that pressure. Yeah. Like, you have to win. You have to win. Like in a CPT qualifier or something like that. Like, right. But I felt that the support actually helped me a lot. And I did not expect to some point that little group become like a huge part of the venue. And then just like I heard Americans like saying uno más, and I'm so sure that they did not know what that meant. That meant one more.
We know that was in winners
finals. Come on, that's not a big mystery.
That was in winners finals when I was one round away to beating Punk, and then like the Puerto Ricans were screaming uno más, and then I hear like a full crowd in the venue like uno más, and I'm like, wow, this is hype. And but yeah, like I honestly I was just thinking about the matchups mostly. I remember when I played Nephew the morning, I was talking with Mena, because Mena and me, like, we usually talk when we're in tournaments or whatever, and we discuss. And he was in DR, and he's like, oh, let's make a Discord call. We did a Discord call. We were talking about the matchups. We were both on training mode, checking out stuff, and like technically preparing for that, right? And then when it came to Punk, I played Mena a long set versus Mena's Karen at Red Bull Kumite. Like, I never got to play Punk at Red Bull Kumite. We never played casual. So the first time we actually play in a tournament setting, it's at CEO. So, but Mena saw me playing versus Karen. He's like, bro, if you play this just like you're playing it with me, with the exception of not trying to look for stuff or whatever, I'm pretty sure you're going to do super well versus Punk. Because of the fact that he told me, like, Punk has really good reactions, so don't try to whiff anything. Like, just wait out, use the poison like you usually do. Get people very frustrated, because that's the thing. When I played Nephew, I was like, as soon as that I saw that his style was more reactive, I was like, okay, then if you're gonna play reactive, then I'm just gonna use skill, because Like, what's going to happen then? Like, you have to look for me then. I think that helped me a lot because then you make somebody like Nephew who's defensive play offensive.
Right.
And even though his offense is super good, because it was easier for me to react to more stuff because he's trying to get in.
Right. And by the way, you said you use his V skill a lot more, right? Because you might cut a little bit, and I think some people might have heard Gil like I did, but you definitely did
V skill one.
Yeah, you did not use Gil. Just me.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So Sunday or Saturday, I guess it was, after you got third place at Frosty Faustings, you told me that you were happy that you got, that you did as well as you did, in part because you were worried that some people would think that you getting first at CEO was fraudulent, or that it was not something that you could consistently do. Is that something that motivates you, or was that just kind of more of an offhanded comment?
It kind of like when I went to Frosty's, I was a bit chill about the thing, but I also really wanted to try to make top 8, to be honest, because I felt like, sometimes you see the stream chat and people are like sometimes they just hate on whatever they just say that. Yeah. Okay. Most of the time. The thing is that the fact that it's Fang, a lot of people are like, people don't know the matchup. That's why. And Fang's been around for 5 years. Like,
if you don't know the matchup, it's your fault.
There's one thing of not knowing the matchup after 5 years, and then it's like there's a different caliber of players, like Vega Patch, me, and like a lot of the Fangs. There's a lot of things about Fang that a lot of people already know. Like even Punk in our set in CEO, he knew things that were already negative, and I tried to steal a turn or whatever, and he knew about it. So it's not like I caught him off guard. It was just because I remember he played Xian when Xian was a Fang main, and he completely like overwhelmed Xian with Karen. And I know that Karen is a favorable match for Fang, period. That's something that every Karen player can definitely... because Fang can control neutral, his pokes are really good, her jumps don't have like an uncomfortable angle, he can always anti-air with no problem. And Frosty's, I felt like it was important for me to actually either make top 8, because of the simple fact that people who would be thinking about the odds because of Fang, or maybe Mono just got favorable matchups the whole tournament. Because sometimes people would think like, maybe he didn't get a bad matchup throughout the tournament. That's like, I got some bad matchups within Frosty's, and I did get some bad matchups in CEO, but like, obviously they were outside of stream, so people are not going to know. Akuma isn't a favorable matchup for Fang either. And I felt that me making third place, and at all things, losing the Punk, it was like, I didn't just lose to anybody at Frosty's, it was Punk again in the run back. And the fact that Punk was very confident at using Rose the whole tournament, except for when he had to play me, and then automatically he switched at the first game. I'm like, okay, so he's pretty clear that Rose versus Fong is not a good matchup, so he's not even going to run it. And he even told me that after, like, that matchup is super bad for Rose. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And I told him off the bat when we finished the set. I told him like the Ken pick was super smart. Like I gave him props for that pick because that pick is actually very good. Like Ken versus Fong is really bad for Fong. And to be honest, like when we played the set, he did play certain things about the matchup, but I felt like it was more. I felt the set between us. I'm gonna try to do an analysis that set on Thursday, but I felt it was more a player versus player thing rather than a matchup versus matchup.
Okay.
I felt he remembered a lot of things from our set at CEO because there were a few patterns. A few situations that that as soon as I saw him counter it, I was like, okay, he paid attention to the CEO set. Because it wasn't a Fang thing. It was like, he remembered that in this scenario, I did this.
Yeah, and that's what those players do, man. They're so good at that, dude.
No, and the thing is that I realized that at the first punish, but then the second one, he didn't do it again. I'm like, I was waiting for it, but no.
Man.
Okay,
of course.
But I thought it was very important for me to actually have a good placing at Frosty's because of that. Like, it's a Fang character. It's a character that people might not be able to say, it's because it's Fang, or it's because he got favorable matchup, or maybe, or whatever the case. Like sometimes people be like, they just got lucky that day.
I mean, people are going to be. Some people will be weird. But I think most people like don't think that you're a fluke, so don't worry about that too much. Okay, maybe let's talk just super briefly about First Attack, which you talked about the origins of, but is now a really big event, and so big that as you were talking about with us during the break. I don't know if you can really talk about this in public, but you were talking even about cooperation with the government of Puerto Rico, or with them asking questions of you, even outside of First Attack. How did it get to that big of an event?
I think, to be honest, it's one of the main reasons First Attack has been able to evolve into the event that it is right now is because of the simple fact that, and this is a limitation that actually turned out to be an opportunity all at the same time, because United States, right? You guys have a lot of companies that are endemic towards the gaming spectrum industry, right? There are peripherals, there's Razer, there's Astro, there's all these different companies that already get involved in gaming events off the bat. Puerto Rico has none of those companies at all. Like, I don't have a Razer, I don't have an Astro, I don't have anything. GameStop left here like 8 years ago, I think. So there's not even GameStops anymore. So sponsorship-wise, I had to go even more beyond the regular endemic. So I started to like hit up T-Mobile. I started to hit up like Malta, the tourism board, because I felt that the best concept of a major is the fact that they're bringing international players to the island. So it's tourism. So I thought, why wouldn't tourism buy into it, right?
Can I just say that you had Duracell sponsoring there, and First Attack is the only event that has people there ready to give you massages, okay?
This year they were here. They were there too this year, just so you know. They're waiting for you, James.
It's pretty sweet.
Dude, it is like the greatest service of an event ever.
Yeah, and massages to the hands. Like, Smash players are having a blast when they see that they're doing hand massages.
It's pretty nice.
Real life hand warmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, I felt that actually is something that has pushed, because then the government, like, tourism gets in on it. Tourism actually, like, began in 2014. They have never left First Attack since 2014. And it obviously gets around. Like, other government agencies be like, oh, what's this event? And then I got the Department of Recreation and Sports because I begin getting like invited to events to talk about the industry, because I also, in 2014, I started to go to entrepreneurship seminars. And I started learning about the whole building a business model, how to do a pitch and all that. And this is just to get brands, because this is not just about gaming. It's about how to get a brand to get involved, or an investor into a business model, no matter what it is. So I had to think how, and the mentors were like, okay, we get the gaming, we get how the events are, but how do you get an investor or a brand to get convinced about this is something I should capitalize on? So I learned a lot during those years, and I just kept at it. I just kept trying to improve the experience. I tried to make really good engagements with sponsors within the event. And if you go to First Attack, you know that many of the sponsors, they try to do something related to gaming, because if you're a sponsor there and you're not doing something with gaming, then you're not really going to get the engagement you're looking for. That's what I thought. And a lot of sponsors have been grateful with the type of treatment that we give them, so they keep coming back every year. And now with the national team of Red Rooster, like this year, one of the sponsors actually sponsored for the players in the event. And it's actually after First Attack, I got hit up by 2 more sponsors, be like, hey, we actually want to get into the whole sponsoring a team kind of thing. So it's building more things. And now the hearing that I have tomorrow, it's a hearing from the legislative branch of the government, where they're going to be asking about the esports industry, the gaming industry, also in developing gaming development, because there are universities or projects or companies that are trying to develop games here. But how do you get, like when you see companies like, I don't know which one is this, but I don't know if it's Naughty Dog or whatever, that they have offices in Canada. Like, how do you get these companies that are stationed in such a country to go and decide to go to Canada or go to Germany and set up an office? And so it's those topics that I think are going to be touched, as well as esports. What does esports bring to the table for Puerto Rico? Like, and I'm going to be like, well, some tourism, because it's obvious that tourism has always been backing it up. It also could be like the same.
Speaking of that, by the way, just to help with the tourism stuff, I'm just going to tell everybody in the chat right now, if you have a chance to go to First Attack, please do. Puerto Rico is beautiful. I mean, honestly, one of probably my favorite places that I have traveled to for an event. It's beautiful. The food is fantastic. And Mono obviously has been a fantastic host for all of us, but the island is just absolutely gorgeous, and it is wonderful out there. So
lots of cool old history too. I really appreciate that.
You went to Old San Juan. I remember you went to see the
sure, a couple times. Yeah. In the last 10 seconds, can you give us a spiel about what Red Rooster is?
Red Rooster is pretty much the first national team of Puerto Rico for esports. Actually, the founder was actually a Third Strike player that used to go to my tournaments in 2005.
Wow.
And he has his own company. And he got reunited with me not too long ago in 2019, and they're like, I really want to make a team. I love what you've done. I would like to see how I could help, and it just began in something that we both love. The fact that one of the main founders of Red Rooster is very passionate as I am helps a lot, which is Roberto Morales, and he's super cool. Che Julio, which is another person that got into the industry because he loves sports, and when he saw the comparison, when I gave a speech about it, about traditional sports and esports, he was like in love with it. And it just snowballed into that. And now the team has like this whole headquarters thing. There's like a bunch of players now. We have our own League of Legends team, which actually competed. Before this interview, they literally won their match in Elements League, which is like the league
all right,
for
nice.
Central America. So they won yesterday and they won today.
Nice.
So we're actually branching out to a lot of categories and just, letting people know here in Puerto Rico that esports is a thing, that players are very talented, that as much as you see people sending people for Olympics in Puerto Rico, that you could also, build up and create athletes that could compete in events that are esports wise. And the amount of media traction, viral exposure, it's the same because you see these tournaments, like you see the League of Legends World Finals, and it has more viewership than the Super Bowl. Numbers don't lie, so why not support it? You're getting like a place like Puerto Rico gets more exposure than they would ever imagine with regards to an event. So why not?
Actually, those numbers might be a lie.
Yeah.
To be honest. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll talk about that with you later.
Yeah.
And then,
you remember the kind of attention Gamerby got when he came back to Taiwan? He was on like the national TV.
Yeah.
Like Mena, dude, the amount of attention he got when he came back to DR after winning, dude, it's
and this guy
deal.
when he won CEO too, by the way.
Yeah,
and then
that's right.
And why is it called Rooster? And this is the last thing, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay, Red Rooster. Okay, here in Puerto Rico, cockfights were a thing, right? So they're illegal now, right? But yeah. But the thing is that the whole thing is like when you have your favorite boxer in pay-per-view event, and a person would say like, ese es mi gallo, like that's my rooster. Like it's a common phrase. And you're like, like if James says like, man, Punk is like my favorite, like Punk es mi gallo. It's like, it's like it's something like that. It's in that competitive aspect of like saying he's your go-to. So it's like Red Rooster because Gallo Rojo is like a rare thing that defines the rooster really bad. So that's why they pretty much felt that it was something that could identify not esports wise because it doesn't reflect anything in the gaming, but cultural wise it does. Like it has a better
cool, man.
Talk about it.
Well, I guess that's going to do it for the whole interview here.
I have just a couple of things that I want to say before we close out. One, that if I show this on the screen, you can see this as well. I don't have it on the screen, but yeah, I can confirm that Canales is the one that has his video private on my channel right now. So, Also, what was your first CEO that you went to? Do you remember?
I think it was 2011 where the finals was Momochi versus Justin.
Yeah, I think
it's that one.
I think that might have been my first one too. Do you remember any of the players that you controlled in the tournament that year?
I think you guys commentated in a match of mine, which was versus Cubano Loco.
No, you beat me at that CEO. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Oh,
damn! I
remember.
That's how I met you, Mono. Is you beat me in the tournament? You eliminated me, I think.
Wow.
So,
And now I invite you to First Attack to eat meals with us and
yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So,
All right, James, hit him with the final question there.
yeah. Where
That
does
will be by the way, we'll be announcing First Attack soon this week,
Yes!
probably, or next
Okay.
Ooh,
week.
announcement.
Cool.
Okay, yeah.
where does Mono come from anyway? The name Mono.
Man, that story, I really feel like you guys don't want to hear it. To be honest. The story has nothing to do with gaming.
Okay, well, first of all, I feel like when most of the people, at least up here, see that word, they think that you're like solo, like mono.
Yeah,
in that
like
sense,
mono and
single.
audio, mono stereo
Yeah.
and all that. Yeah.
Anyway, what's the real story?
Some people actually said mono from mononucleosis. I'm like,
Well, that's at the same root, I guess. Why not?
Right.
yeah. But the thing is that the mono thing actually came from high school. So a little bit embarrassing too. So, okay, high school, sixth, seventh grade, maybe. I was way smaller, shorter. I was very skinny. I can say agile. I can say that. And there was a thing in Puerto Rico, like they do this in school, like when you pass letters, right? They would say like, they put a name and they would say like, fulano de tal, like such and such person, piña at lunchtime. Piña means that they're going to gather up and they're just going to do like a hit up with the knuckles on your back or on your head or whatever. It's like a group thing that they do. That right? So every random day, they would decide randomly who was going to be the person that they would hit with that. So my day came up, and that day they weren't able to catch me because I'm short, fast, and small, and agile. Somebody actually said, "Man, this fucking guy moves like a monkey. Jesus Christ!" And so they said Mono, and it got to a point that they would call me Mono, and the reason is because since I got you have no idea how much I hated being called Mono. And what happens in high school? The more you hate it.
Yeah, of course. That's your name now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it got to a point that I was like very frustrated with that and stuff. And I remember there's this one point in time where my mom actually, I was so frustrated with that. She told me once that, you know what, sit down. And this is like the parent advice moment. She gives me a cup of water, right? And she keeps it half empty, right? And she puts it on the table and she looks at me and she's like, "How do you see that glass of water?" And I'm like, half empty. I'm like, "That's your problem. You have to see the glass half full, not half empty."
Wow.
You need to forget about whether people just realize that so many people know you because of this name now. And I remember that a few weeks after the senior, there's a thing called the move up, where it's when the seniors leave and then next grade goes up to where the seniors are. And they actually did a Monkey Trouble Award or something like that. And it was obviously referring to me.
Aww.
I could have taken this moment in two ways. Either gotten really upset or acknowledging, you know what, fuck it, I'm just going to have fun with it. And I decided to do the second one. And after that, I was just acknowledging the whole Mono thing. First tournament I go, I'm getting the word gamer tag did not exist. So they asked me, "So what's your nickname?" I'm like, "What do you mean what's my nickname? What do people call you?" And I'm like, and that was my first Third Strike event because in Soul Calibur they put my real name. And Third Strike, I was like, "Well, I mean, they call me Mono," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll put Mono." And it stuck.
Well,
And actually, the fun part about all this was people trying to decipher why I'm called Mono in games. We're like, is he Mono because he uses Yun and he jumps a lot and moves around? Is it because of Yun? People are trying to decipher why Mono, and it had nothing to do with anything gaming related.
cool, man.
So yeah, that's the story behind it.
That's
I'm not
awesome,
sure if I want
dude.
you. I'm not sure if I want you to erase this part of the archive. But
Not gonna happen.
Dude, that's actually a great story, though. There's nothing to be embarrassed about that, dude. That's a great story.
That's one of the better ones.
I picked it when I was, 12.
Yeah.
That's why. That's actually a good story.
One of the better stories for sure. Just to be super clear, it means monkey. If people didn't get that, or if you don't know Spanish, then it means monkey.
Okay. Hey, look.
All right.
Monkeys are kings in Chinese, right? So
yeah, I'm seeing a few of the Puerto Rican people from my staff that are finding out today that was the story.
Oh yeah. I see him in there. All right, cool. Well, thanks a lot for coming on, dude. Congrats on your recent success and good luck in the future.
Yeah, I'll see you guys in the next tournament. Hopefully Texas Showdown or Combo Breaker or CEO or First Attack, obviously, probably.
Sounds good.
You got it.
Can't wait. All right. Peace.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, thanks for coming on, homie.
Just as proof. Mario Canales is private. It's the only one that's set to private over here. So
Busted.
I'm sure it's a few years past. I'm sure it's okay that we reveal that
He's gonna
now.
call you up again, like, damn it, James, come on, man.
Busted. That MonoPR can talk, huh? Jeez.
Dude, I mean, I loved
No, it's
hearing
awesome.
all that stuff.
I'm glad we had him on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the old 5-5 matchup where we bloviate on some topic.
It is one of those cool things, though, to think about that. I talked about the joke about him beating me at CEO. I remember being upset at the time. I was like, losing the spices back when I was actually good at Street Fighter 4. But what's cool about it is the history, right? It's just, I've known this guy for years. He beat me at a tournament, and like he said, now he's inviting me out to eat at his tournaments here. And it's like, it's just cool to know that the FGC builds that kind of family, it's just really neat to me. Anyway, it's okay. Sorry, I'm gonna get all emotional.
Shout outs to the
everything.
monkey.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into the next topic.
You gotta shock the monkey. Okay, let's.
Nobody knows that song. 5 people.
Literally
know this
anyone
song.
ever.
God, come on, guys.
I know the song, but nobody younger than me does. That's
man.
All right. So let's start off by doing a topic from stuff that we chose, and this topic is. Here's the question: is neutral a social construct? Is it a social construct? Is it invented? Is it not real? Here's the tweet that he tweeted. The tweet is, neutral is a social construct. One character normally has an advantage in any given situation anyway. Watch any fighting game, playing strictly strong neutral is rarely what wins. It's usually using your neutral to apply a blender of some sort. That is Mortal Kombat top player, a Foxy Grandpa's opinion. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, I have a lot to say on this, so I don't know if you just want me to go first and start, blah, 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 blah about that. So,
hopefully with words though. Is my, my strong.
All right. Let me explain my point of view.
I love it. Yeah. Yep.
I get it. I'm with you 200%.
Look, a lot of people have talked about how do you define neutral in fighting games, and I have gotten to a very, very solid definition in my opinion. In fact, on our YouTube channel, I have a fighting game dictionary episode exactly about neutral, and it applies very closely to what Foxy Grandpa says. I guess he says that one character normally has an advantage in every given situation, but there are a lot of times in a game where they don't, where they're walking back and forth, and that's what I call neutral. Neutral, the whole goal, and if you watch and again, I didn't get to rib on Mono for stealing my series name, First Attack, or anything like that, but in my First Attack episodes that I was doing again, I was leading up to this kind of idea that all neutral is you fighting for the advantage. Right? So when nobody has an advantage, that's the neutral game. As soon as you get the knockdown or you get them into a plus frame or whatever like that, neutral disappears. And so Foxy Grandpa is absolutely right, is that, one character normally has the advantage. Now, there is enough time that they don't, that is neutral, but neutral is, like he says, probably one of the smaller parts of fighting games, because a lot of the time that you're playing, one character has an advantage. But the way that you want to look at neutral is that the whole point of neutral is to set up your advantage. When you approach a fighting game and you want to learn how to beat someone, you have to know the mix-up. If you don't have a mix-up, you can't open them up. If there's one solution, it's not a mix-up. You have to have a mix-up. But now the question is, how do you get to that mix-up? By giving yourself advantage. How do you do that? By playing neutral. It's all the steps of a fighting game, in my opinion, is that it goes from neutral to gaining the advantage to the mix-up. If you don't understand that flow of a fighting game, then that is where you are going to suffer, because then when you are in neutral, you have no idea what you're trying to do. If all you're trying to do is land that cool combo, or set up that one cool mix-up that you had. I was trying to teach somebody in Melty Blood this when the game first came out. They said, I'm using this character. I don't know how to win. And I was like, what's your mix-up? And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, let's make up a mix-up. Now that we have this mix-up, how do you get to this advantageous position? He's like, I don't know. And I was like, okay, well, how do you play neutral? What are you trying to find? If I can hit you with this sweep, this sets this up, et cetera, et cetera. And, he was like, this is like mind-blowing stuff. That's kind of how I approach it. The neutral game is for you to find a way to get the advantage to start your mix-up. So I don't think it's as much as a social construct, but more just I kind of took it and defined it in a way that I like to define things in general. But that's my long spiel about that. So
that wasn't even that long. I thought I was going to be sitting here for way longer.
Yeah, I was waiting for a 15-minute James Chen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was ready.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that framework is useful, talking about it as if there are these phases. I think that's a useful way to view it. But I also think that, like many things that are kind of frameworks or models, in particular situations, it often breaks down and doesn't really super apply to like little minute things.
Right.
It's just kind of like a useful way to think about it broadly, maybe. I think that what Foxy says in part is almost always true. It's almost always the case that one character has an advantage in any given situation. It's almost never the case that there's truly an even situation. Maybe it's only mirror matches, or it's very rare otherwise. And that's true even if that doesn't mean one character has an extreme advantage, a knockdown situation into Oki or something like that. Very strong advantage, of course. Or you're at max screen versus a zoner, like obviously very strong advantage. Mm-hmm. Those are sharp, but in even what we call neutral, almost never the case is it truly neutral. One character's footsies are better. One character converts into Oki or damage better, almost always. And so, yeah, it's useful only in the sense of just kind of thinking about things broadly. But in terms of really applying or of really narrowing down in on exactly how to play a fighting game, I think it's rarely a useful concept. I think instead the useful concepts are more about what the advantages and the disadvantages. Those are the more useful concepts in most situations. How do you get into a stronger advantage? How do you escape a disadvantage are probably better questions. But yeah, again, I mean, talking about neutral, it can still be useful. It's just not as useful when in concrete little situations.
Right. I mean, go ahead.
Man, I've like for 40 minutes been trying to get anything said. You guys are just like, hold it. Like, I don't even.
You gotta yell. You know that. You know that.
Listen, man, I got cut off so many times in the interview. I gave up. You
gotta yell.
Anyways, I don't even know what I was gonna say anymore.
My God!
I know what I was gonna say now. Yeah, no, I agree that everybody that there's always an advantage in neutral for someone at some point. Always. It's very rarely, like you said, maybe in mirror matches where that isn't at least minutely true. However, I don't think neutral is just a social construct. I don't think neutral is something we're making up. And I think a really strong example would be Marvel top 8 this past weekend at Frosty Faustings. When you think of Marvel and you think of like Zero and Magneto and Virgil, you're thinking, oh, you get one touch and you win the whole game. Like that's like the Marvel 3 meme since 2011. You get one touch, you can win the whole game. Like in some cases it's true. But if you watch Ray and Evasion playing in grand finals, every fucking game went to like 90 Marvel seconds, which is like 2.5 real minutes. You know, like every game is them fighting just to try to touch one another. So I don't think it's this made up thing like money or country borders. You know, I think it's an actual physical thing that you can see applied. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it is one of the reasons why Marvel 3 has become one of my favorite fighting games is because as it's matured, the neutral is so good in that game.
Well, but this is how it is in my experience in very damaging, very risky games. Mm-hmm. When that's true, you know that the risk of getting hit is the risk of losing a round, like right away.
Yes.
And so you need to be really careful about getting hit, and you have to be really cautious. And if you're overly risky, you're just going to lose a lot. So it may seem weird, but I think in many cases, games that have, or characters that have a ton of damage output or a ton of excellent mix-ups don't actually do them all that often, because instead what you're really looking for is how to avoid getting got at even, higher cost of getting the other person got.
Right. And, to what I was going to say earlier, basically kind of, talking about what David said, the reason why my favorite matchup maybe of all history is Guile versus Ryu in Super Turbo is because literally, like David was saying, there is no neutral in that situation. Literally full screen, Ryu has an advantage. Guile moving in slightly, Guile has an advantage. Moving slightly in closer, Ryu has an advantage. Moving slightly in closer, Guile has an advantage. And it's literally like that. That's like one of... And so even though nobody's truly at neutral, what I describe, like I said, as neutral is fighting for that advantage. Right, so you guys trying to find the position to move yourself, and the reason why that matchup is particularly interesting is because Guile's a charge character, so moving forward he has to sacrifice a lot of stuff, so he can't just walk back and forth fighting for those distances. But to me, that's what neutral is fighting for your advantage. So in most fighting games, because the distance determines who has the advantage, you trying to move your distance back and forth is the neutral. David's right. You're constantly switching with who has an advantage, and it's never really actually neutral. But, there's a difference between being able to walk in and out of advantage range and being put into a negative block stun or being knocked down kind of advantage, right? Two different kind of levels of advantage. So I agree. Most of the time, neutral as a term as nobody has an advantage is not true, because someone almost always has the advantage. However, I describe neutral as you're fighting for that advantage, whether it's walking or walking backwards.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the words we use in the FGC to describe things are not perfect translations of what they actually are. Mm-hmm. For example, if I hit someone in the face as they're standing up, nobody's going to think, oh, he hit him real meaty. Like, that's not how things work in real life. So neutral is just kind of our word to, catch all, footsies, exactly.
It's all made up.
But, I mean, Foxy Grandpa in the chat, expanding on his own tweet, goes as far to say that neutral advantage and disadvantage can be things like when two RoboCops, one of them has a life lead and the other one doesn't. Well, obviously, if you're both full screen, the one with more life has the advantage. So it's very hard to say that neutral is actually neutral. It's not. It's just another catch-all term that we have. Man, if we could go back in time and rename things to make them make more sense, that'd be great. But we're kind of stuck with what we got for now.
That ain't how words work, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, before I made that fighting game dictionary, before I really tried to define what neutral was, there was a tweet that was like, what does neutral actually mean? And I agreed, it meant nothing. And, the only reason why I tried to give it my own spin as a definition is so I could present it to people in a way that made a lot more sense. But neutral, for sure, does not mean someone doesn't have an advantage or a disadvantage, that they're even.
Right.
But in order to describe it, you kind of have to talk about it that way. But yeah.
The neutral. Yeah, by the way, neutral's not even that old of a word in fighting game context.
It sure isn't.
It's like 5 years old. It's really not old.
We definitely didn't say it back when the Street Fighter 4 days. We just called that footsies.
We called that fundamentals.
Everything was footsies back then.
Fundamentals, yeah.
I'm not sure that's the same as fundamentals.
Footsies.
Yeah.
It was all. We just didn't have a word for it yet. I guess somehow we just landed on neutral.
Footsies.
Yeah, and in other games we would say air footsies in Marvel. We would say air footsies in Melee.
That's true. Yeah, we did say the air footsies. Yeah. Wow. Ugh.
I mean,
I like neutral better than air footsies.
It was at one point in time where Bucktooth kind of defined the RPS of footsies that really were the neutral, I felt like, started. Actually, he might have just called it the RPS of footsies. So I don't even think it was neutral back then either.
I don't know who came up with it, but I really feel like it's like 5 years old. It's really not.
I'm claiming it. I came up with it until proven otherwise. I invented it. Yeah. It's me. TuboWare did it all.
It was Tub all along.
It was Tubo all along. Dun, 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 dun. I've turned into my dad, where everything you say reminds him of a song.
Jeez.
That's not.
I do that. I do that too, James. But I do it in my head, and it's usually like obscure rap songs.
And it's show tunes. So don't you know what that's from, David? That was from like last year. I couldn't tell what you were singing, dude. That was last year.
That was from WandaVision.
Yeah, it was.
It was.
I could not tell.
All along. You watched it, man. Come on. Golly gumdrops. All right. Yeah. I think we're done here.
All right, we're done here. Let's move on to the next one.
All right. Jinx. The 5-5 question. Oh shoot! I forgot to.
I can't believe you didn't say Jinx. You always say Jinx. I was so ready to go.
I was like, we didn't say it at the exact same time, so it was different.
Ready to go. All right, here's what we're going to do. We got 2 viewer 5-5 questions today. It's not a lot. It's not a long list. We got 1,000 mailbag questions. And
a bajillion and a half.
To remind everybody, we are nowadays picking just a couple of the mailbag questions. So please do be aware in the future.
Unless we do the after show. Where
yes, indeed. Correct.
Where we just hang out and talk about stuff. So... let's get this going.
Well, let me start reading what we got here. Number 1, Killer Instinct introduced AI fighters that learn with its shadow fighters. Do you think fighting games would benefit from similar AI fighters? And number 2, a druid grants you the ability to mash together one fighting game event with another style of event of your choice in any genre. Which 2 events do you want to put together?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
There you go. There's the 2 questions. So we only got 2 of them. Vote on which one as that you will.
Hang on. The poll has not been created yet. The poll has not been created yet. I forgot
the way that the poll is going to work is you're going to type in exclamation point and then 1 or exclamation point and then 2.
Yep.
All right. Are we good to go?
Yes. Go. Let's go. Vote.
Subs get 2 votes.
Subs do get 2 votes. That is correct. So vote as much as you want if you are a sub, because there's only 2 categories. And so unlike people who actually use their 2 votes, unlike people who actually stack it on one question, which is lame, which is a terrible way to do it. I don't even know if stacking it on one works. Does that?
It works because I get my MoveBot notifications.
Oh, interesting.
And I get 2 of them, and I always stack my vote.
Stacking vote. I see. You know, this tells you how my brain works. I had never considered stacking votes. It was never a thing that came into my head. So
gotta stack the votes, baby. Rank choice, and my other choice gets 0.
Well, let's see. I don't see any numbers going up at this point in time.
Well, it looks like 2 is way ahead.
Yeah, I think we are going to go ahead and call it on that because I don't see the numbers going up. All right, let's go to, I'm going to close the thing down and archive this poll. So yes, we are doing number 2, where a druid grants you ability to mash together one fighting game event with one other event style of your choice. Which 2 events do you want to mash together? So let's see if I could get this set up over here. Boof. There we go. What do you guys say?
Shout outs to druids.
That's not the question, David.
What do you mean?
I didn't say David and expect you to say shout outs to druids. Just leave it at that. Answer the question, you dork.
I'm not a dork.
You just said shout outs to druids. That's literally what a dork would say.
Actually, in elementary school, some kids did call me David the dork.
I would have been that. I would have been the one shoving you in your locker when he's like, "Get in the locker, David the dork."
Actually, I was one of the taller and stronger kids, but I was definitely a big dork.
Yeah, if David was actually small, skinny, and agile, then he would have been called David the monkey for the rest of his life.
Oh boy, what a lucky chance that I escaped that fate. What what events and what style should I match together?
What I'll say right now is like, we have events like this already, which is great, right? So CEO, probably the best example, adding the wrestling stuff where they had the NJPW.
What about Splash and Smash? That's a pretty good example too. Water Park with Smash.
Okay.
That's another one. I've talked about ECT, how Joe has mixed it all with the music fandom that he has. Those kind of things are some of my favorite events, being able to mash a couple of things together. Interestingly enough, I've thought about it myself and, what kind of things that I would want to mash together. And I'm not even really sure I have a good answer, because I could joke and be like, oh, I would do Tetris, but Puyo Puyo Tetris shows up at, fighting game events.
Yeah, that was at Frosty's like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I don't even think that would count as a choice, All
right, well, I've had this idea for a real long time. And I've jokingly pressured Rick to add this to Combo Breaker, but he won't do it because he's a coward. But what I would like to do, I would like to host a MMA fighting game tournament where the fighting game players sign waivers and can sign up to be eligible to compete in an actual MMA match. And the reason I want to do this is because I will fight any of you motherfuckers. Let's go. Get in the ring with me. You swear to God you won't. But seriously, I do think it would be really, really cool to see fighting game players actually fight. Because, not that it would be, good fights, not that I expect them to be athletes, but it would just be hilarious to see a bunch of people I know just wailing on each other. I would think it's really funny. That's why I want to see it.
How big are these fighting arenas? If big enough.
The Octagon.
Just the regular Octagon.
And I was just reminded recently that there was one when Hakan first was revealed. Capcom did an event where you could actually go oil Turkish wrestling with some dude or something like that.
Did they do an event?
That's what I'm saying, man. We could do actual physical things.
So I can't remember
and put them on Twitch, and they would get bajillions of views.
Look, I will say early 2000s, and I won't name names, but somebody actually wanted to run a tournament with stripper poles and stuff like that. That's
I will say names. That actually happened, James.
Wait,
that happened in St. Louis.
Did it really? Did that actually happen?
Twice in St. Louis. The tournament series was called St. Louis Ultimate Tournament Series. And that's an acronym. That's an acronym.
Oh, yeah, okay, it is a good name.
St. Louis Ultimate Tournament Series.
Dude, that's not who I was thinking of.
You get the lap dance from strippers. That actually was a real thing long ago.
I was just about to say that.
Twice, I believe. I think there was 2 of them. So
I only brought it up because it was supposedly a bad idea that nobody should do, people getting hurt and wrestling.
Nobody should do. Think about, you just won CVS 2 in the year 2004. You're 19 years old, and some weird stripper walks up to you after you win and wants to give you a lap dance. Get out of here, lady. I want to do Blanca roll cancel combos. I don't want you in my face. I'm there to play video games,
I'm sure.
Oh, Underground Tournament Spectacular. That's what it was. Sorry. St. Louis Underground Tournament Spectacular. My bad.
God.
Sorry, it was a long time ago.
Oh, boy.
All right, David, what would you mash together? Would you mash together tournaments and hockey so you could beat up on little kids?
I can do that in fighting games anyway.
Damn.
No, I would match together. Let's see. I would match together fighting game tournaments and an academic conference, and we would have presentations, and we would have. What are you shaking your heads for? This sounds so great.
So what? That idea is worse than mine somehow.
No, it's not.
Somehow possible. That is. Who would watch that? Everyone knows we're all a bunch of big dumbos. Nobody wants to I'd rather get beat up in front of a bunch of people than made to look stupid in front of a bunch of people. No question.
No, you don't have to look stupid. You're going there.
If you're actually smart.
I'm never changing. I'm never changing that label ever again, David. I'm just letting you know right now.
It worked out great. It all worked out great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that you're the one who has to give the presentation. I'm saying that you get to enjoy like some presentation on the War of the Roses or something. You know, whatever weird stuff. What's new in archaeology this week? Like something
What's
cool.
new in archaeology? Literally nothing. That's all old
That's
shit.
not
You
true.
realize, right? Like,
No,
that's
it's
the
not
point of
true.
having-
Happening all the time.
They actually found a dinosaur-esque creature
No, I was just making
that
the
was
joke that
so
you're digging up old.
I
old
understand.
stuff. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
but still, they found a dinosaur whose blood was so well preserved and was still liquefied that they might actually be able to try to clone this creature. I think that they said that
I had
they're
not
gonna
heard about
try.
that. Wow.
Yeah, that is kind of frightening. Have we not all
Not
seen
even.
Jurassic Park, dude? I mean,
Come on,
seriously.
dinosaurs would be adorable. They're gonna have feathers and shit. They're not gonna look anything like
Dude,
they did in Jurassic
have you seen
Park.
have you seen the tweets of like where they show the animal skull and they show what our dinosaur would it be what how we would imagine the dinosaur, and it turns out the skull is like from an otter or a hippopotamus, and like they're the
Yeah,
most
yeah.
adorable looking creatures, but their skulls are just terrifying.
Yeah, you can't tell. You can't tell
Yeah.
by looking at something like that unless you're an expert. Yeah. Yeah, we could have a presentation on like, hey, maybe the 28th Amendment to the Constitution was ratified and is now officially law, or maybe it's not, and let's have an argument about that. Like, there could just be so many. Cool
Who do you
things to
who do
talk
you
about.
think fighting like? Have you been to a fighting game tournament before?
Here's
ever?
one thing I'll
Who
say
is this
about
appealing to?
one thing I'll say about the fighting game community, and this is true, is that I feel like the people I know in the FGC are, on average, more intelligent and more thoughtful than the people who I knew in law school, the other lawyers who I know. So I think there's a lot of smarties, man. And I think a lot of people would like to know very interesting topics like.
You have a way more optimistic view of the general population.
Here's an
than I
in-depth
ever have,
exploration of
man.
Tesla coils. You don't think that? I think people would be into it.
Listen, man. Only reason I would go is so then I can make fun of you with Tesla coil information later. That's the only. I would just want to collect dork stuff to make fun of you with that you understood in your dark brain level.
I'm
That's
so
like-
in. If you want to
evil
make
implications.
if you want to make jokes to me about things like that, I would be all for it.
God, what terrible idea can I think of now? Just a
It doesn't
match.
have to be terrible. It could be great.
Yeah, like mine, it can be great.
I need to match the level of terribleness that these other two have come up with. We've got a big giant, injured players potential, and then the FGC body Facebook group would really appreciate David's event, I think. So,
Bodied is a group where people get caught like falling asleep at events, sitting up.
Oh,
and stuff.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
Good reference. then.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see. What would I mix it with? I would mix it with eating Pocky. That's what I would do. I would make a Pocky fighting game of.
Been tried and it didn't work. Let me tell you.
Gross.
Dude, I mean, it worked well.
Yeah,
enough for me.
now that I
Let's
think
put
about it,
that way.
TuboWare, your idea is basically chess boxing, which is a thing.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm
Really?
saying.
Oh, dang.
Chess boxing is real. Yep.
That's what I'm
Hey,
saying.
dude,
It's real.
okay. Necromancy Black has the best answer for me right there. Is mixing an FG event with a cat cafe. Do you know how no salty person would exist out there because they would be like, I lost, and then they'd go hug a cat, and then they'd be
See,
like,
I'd be
whatever.
so worried that somebody would just get mad and just like boot a cat because I've seen fighting game players do terrible things when they're angry.
That person would get exploded.
Oh yeah, I mean they would absolutely get beat down immediately, but like I just would worry for the safety of the cats. What if you're popping off and the cat's like 2 feet from you and you
They
jump
would-
out of your chair and the cat gets stomped?
The cats
Poor
are all in
kid.
front of the monitors, by the way. Nobody can actually see
So, yeah,
any of the
Exactly,
matches.
right? They're
Jumping
monitors
laps while
or on the
you're playing
laps,
tournament.
you know? Actually, I might do what Daigo did that one time. Now that I think about it, is that he ran the fighting game / karaoke tournament. I think that would actually be amazing. That,
Wait, is karaoke part of the tournament? Like, do you have
Yeah.
to compete in karaoke?
yeah, so like the players actually played each other, and then afterwards they had to like sing against each other and see who
Wow.
sang better. Yeah,
All right.
Choco Blanca was amazing, by the way.
Okay.
A couple of those guys were really surprising at how I remember Goichi was like really spot on too. So you Yeah, but that was a cool event.
Well, I like Weirdo Neo.
Good.
That's the one I'm betting on.
All right.
Weirdo Neo is a good choice, actually.
That's who I'm
Weirdo
betting
Neo is a
on.
good choice because he actually made it to his national contest and top 8. So,
All right. Well, in the end, James's idea and Brock's idea were almost the same. People go to the event with the cat in front of them, and they get mad about the cats, and they get beat up right away. It's basically the same idea in the end.
That ends the same way. Someone's getting punched.
Somebody's going to get punched.
Somebody's going to catch hands IRL.
Absolutely.
All right. Are we doing mailbag? Is that where we're headed?
On.
So we picked our own mailbag questions here for you guys.
Yeah, hold that.
And so
Yeah,
we're going to
see?
just do whatever mailbags that we feel like. What did we agree on in the end? Are we doing 3 or just 2? Are we just doing...
Are we doing 5?
Oh, no, David already has them marked down over here. Okay. So the first question here is from...
Good job, past me.
Finally setting up future David for success.
I know. God, that past David's always a jerk. I can't believe he was cool this time.
He's a dork, dude.
He's a big dork.
Investigation Cone via Twitter asks, in honor of B. Genet's La Chancla Super in KOF, what is your favorite mundane attack in any fighting game?
First of all, is it really Bijanet?
I don't know. In the trailer, they called her B. Jenny. They just said Jenny.
I've heard it.
It's Begenet.
Okay, well, there's a fourth. I was about to say I've heard it at least 3 ways. I've heard that what you just said, and I've heard Genet, and I've heard Janet, and I don't know which one of those is right, but whatever.
Vengeance.
I don't know. Genet sounds like the right way to do it. I don't know. Like that just.
Genet.
Yeah.
I mean, is she French?
I don't know.
I feel like that's a French name, right? Like that. I feel like I don't know.
It could be.
Don't ask me, man. I'm asking you guys. Anyways, favorite mundane attack would have to be Aghanos Flick.
Good
Stand
answer.
jab.
Good answer. I like that. My favorite mundane attack is Q Stand Roundhouse, where he just like puts his leg out at you, and he, it's not even like, it's a kick, I guess, but like it's really just like his leg goes straight all of a sudden. But man, it is so cool looking, and he makes a weird grunt while doing it, as he tends to do. What a sick character! Oh, what a cool guy.
My favorite mundane.
You get pushed back really far away. Chun-Li punishes with super R2. You know how it goes. You know, third strike.
Yeah. My favorite mundane attack is basically everything that BB Hood does, because she's hitting you with things that she didn't mean to hit you with, and you have characters like Phoenix Wright who like throw the papers and they just happen to be hitting you by accident. But the reason why BB Hoods is the best is because she's actually super evil and she's pretending to hit you by accident. Like, it's all part of the ploy. It's all part of the lore. And I think that like she's avoiding the mole on the ground, so she hops forward with her knee and kicks you. She's swiping at butterflies and she hits you in the face, But then she pulls out the machine gun or she throws the grenade and her eyes get all dark and evil. And she's basically one of the greatest fighting game characters ever. So
it's a shame she was never in Marvel 3.
Actually, she would have been sick in Marvel 3.
Yeah, I think she would. I really wanted her in Marvel 3.
Yeah, she was in Marvel 2. That was
one of the characters I wanted.
Yeah, she was in Marvel 2. Did not make Marvel 3. So.
Wow, Mikey, are you serious? She's named after kind of Jean-Benet Ramsey. Are you serious?
No, that can't be right. Why?
I mean, Mikey tends to know what he's talking about, so I don't know, but. It really is. Oh, boy. Did SNK know anything about the story there, or did they just think the name was nice? Did they happen to hear it on the radio one time and they were like, nice name, we won't look into this any further? Wow.
Hey, look, it's the big Nathan camp. Oh, big chunk of a cat.
All right, next question.
All right. Next question.
Can't change
Nathan
it.
can't breathe.
Oh no, Nathan.
Dude, did you see
Live.
that there was a comic out there where there was like a Grim Reaper sitting on a chair and he's like, all right, time to go to work. And a cat goes on his lap and he's like, oh no. And then the next panel is a newspaper headline that says humans have become immortal.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty much the way it goes. So
Mailbag.
So, this question, oh my God.
Oh my God.
Shout outs to you guys and your questions, by the way, and your responses to the questions. This question is from Nothing Excess via Twitter, who says, a warlock opens a portal into the unknown. Through this portal, you are told you can reach in and pull out a fighting game that you know, but with 2 changes of your choice. The game is still recognizably the same. Which game do you reach for, and with what changes? And just to follow up with that.
Wait. Let's answer the question first, and then we'll do the follow up.
Sure. Okay. Fair.
First of all, shout out to Nothing Excess for running the table on both the 5-5 matchup and also the mailbag. Congratulations.
Oh dang. Okay.
Congratulations.
Oops, that's not what I was trying to do.
You've done it.
All right, so obviously I select Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Chun-Li is not in the game, and Ganajin is twice as long for a bar. Bam! 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 That's it. Nailed it.
But that's one.
But you like
game.
to play Q, and how does that help Q? It just takes away one bad matchup out of how many characters in the game?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to just buff Q. That wouldn't be interesting.
I thought it was 2 games. I thought it was 2 games. Oh, it's 1 game with 2 changes.
One game with two changes. Yeah.
So that's the best answer. What are you guys' second places?
I mean, honestly, my first when I thought it was 2 games, one of my answers was Third Strike. I wouldn't delete Chun-Li from the game. I would give
Chun-Li's
her.
not in the game.
I would give her 1 Kikosho. I mean, 1 Hoyokusen. So she can only have 1 Hoyokusen, and then I would make it so that Yun does not gain meter post Ganajin combo until the combo is over. Those are the 2 legit changes that I would put into that game.
I did not.
But I'd pick Marvel 3.
Okay, go for it.
And I'd take TAC Infinites. And I'd add rollback netcode. And we'd have the greatest fighting game of all time.
Okay, pretty good answer, to be honest.
That's a good answer.
Yep. Yep.
One of my answers was also Alpha 3. I would take away the crouch canceling infinites, and then I would also make it so that custom combos are activated by 2 quarter circles back plus the 2 buttons. Those are the 2 changes that I would make for Alpha 3. And then I think Alpha 3 would be super, super cool.
Well, those are all pretty good answers, all pretty good. Good job, everybody.
But again, let me put the question onto this screen over here so we can refresh your memory. A warlock opens a portal. Hang on a second. A warlock opens a portal into the unknown. Through this portal, you are told you can reach in and pull out a fighting game that you know, but with 2 changes of your choice. The game is still recognizably the same. Which game do you reach for, and with what changes? In response to that, Zed Tabani gives us this question. Follow-up question. After pulling out the 2 games, what do you do with the knowledge that there is a warlock on the material plane that can open portals, which is dangerous and threatens the security of the entire planet, but he's just decided to pull out fighting games from it?
Nice work.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I love this follow-up. All right, here's what I do. I take out that warlock, man. I take him right out.
Why?
How do you take out a warlock?
Well, he's not going to use his portal for anything except for fighting games, so I feel like I could just get him. He's just there. He's not using his magic for other... According to the question, I mean, according to the question...
You could just get him.
You could just get him. I put him in jail or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't want somebody on Earth who is magical or who is superhuman or something like that. No, all these stories where it's like, how dare you be upset that there are like immortals or that there are superheroes or whatever. You normals, how dare you be upset about that? I would be upset. I don't want that. Now I don't want to do like a X-Men genocide or whatever.
So yeah, I'll say. So you're telling me that if X-Men were real, you could be on the Yumi side.
I don't know about that stuff.
Damn, that's messed up, David.
But I also like
so much about you.
But I don't want there to be superheroes in real life. That would be ass. I just want everybody to be human and mortal and have to make more or less the same decisions about things. But then if there are gods effectively who can do whatever they want, totally different story. I would hate to live in a world with Superman. That would be awful. I don't want Superman. No.
Well,
look, I would actually pay the Warlock. I would take the Warlock and I would pay him money to be the main attraction at the Fighting Game History Museum. Because then every day we could have a presentation about every fighting game in existence because he can pull it out from the portal. It's like, hey, let's talk about time killers. And he'd be like, cabinet, time killers. And then we could learn about time killers and we could play time killers. Remember that one fighting game that you can't find anymore that's obscure and probably doesn't exist? Guess what? Wizard can bust that shit right out of the portal. And there it is. And we can learn about that fighting game in its exact replicable form.
Man,
he would be so useful to the history of fighting games.
You know,
you were making fun of me for doing my academic / fighting game event, and this is what you come out with 10 minutes later?
Dude,
are you serious?
If all he does is pull fighting games out of portals, and that's all he does, he's not a threat to anybody. He's a boon. He's amazing.
People would go to that. Neither of you have time to do anything to this Warlock when you'd be busy playing Marvel 3 with rollback.
You're right.
Why are you worried about this Warlock? What is wrong with you? Who cares? Yeah, whatever you want, Warlock. Yeah, I don't care, man. I'm playing Marvel. My boy Dual Kevin. It's, lag free. It's incredible. Thank you, Mr. Warlock.
It's like in Futurama when the humans and robots start hooking up with each other. Just nobody gets anything done.
Yeah, man. That's why Marvel 3 doesn't have good netcode. It would ruin Earth.
It would ruin society.
Yeah, it would break down. COVID would go away because no one would leave their house anymore.
Oh man. Well,
yeah, that's part of why I like The Watchmen so much. Is it kind of explores what is it like in a world that actually has a superhero and everybody else is just a human. Like that's
actually I was gonna say when you said you don't want to have a Superman because that's the Boys and Homelander but that's probably more accurate to what a Superman could be like.
Right.
And on this Earth, in this realm of reality, chances are Superman would be a big old piece of shit. So yeah. That's what makes him special. That's why people like Superman.
And plus another thing too is I think in this environment, half the people would want to try to kill Superman for real, and then he would end up killing everybody else, and then that would just be disaster. So
listen, man, only way I'd be pissed off about superheroes being real is if I didn't have a power, and even then I'd still be supporting.
And
I'd be supporting the muties.
You wouldn't have a power.
Listen, man, I'm quite special. I would probably have a power.
You're special, but you're not.
Has Tubo ever gone through Terragenesis? Do we really know what his special power would be?
I'm just saying. Out of the three of us, who has saved a life that turned out to not be real, but who thought it was real?
Nobody. Okay.
Who thought it was real? This one, all right?
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah. Take that, superhero.
Yeah, well, you're definitely closer to being a hero than me. Well, congratulations.
That's just not. You're a. Sure, I'll just take it. Yeah, sure.
Hey, well, then we're all going to give the actual the best superhero in the FGC would be Yipes for having actually saved a human life.
Yeah, he did jump down on the tracks.
Jumping down onto the tracks and saving someone. So there you go.
And hurting himself in the process. Congrats to you.
Well, hurting himself.
Congrats.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats to you blowing out his knee. Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Okay.
He
maybe could have phrased it better.
Somebody, man. He still saved somebody when no one else did a damn thing, okay? We don't focus on the injury. Man. We focus on the actual, in case people don't know, old
good
man
job, Michael.
on the subway, because New York doesn't have gates for some strange reason, fell onto the tracks. And while everybody sat by and screamed, Yipes immediately, with his FGC reactions, jumped down, hurt himself, helped lift the old man up on his hurt leg so that everybody else could carry him out, and then everyone carried Yipes out. But he was the only one that actually acted. So there you go. Yipes. See, if we did have superheroes in the world, I would want Yipes to be a superhero because he would be an awesome superhero.
Yeah, if Yipes, like, as himself now, suddenly became a superhero, that'd be great. If he grew up being a superhero, I think it's a boys situation. But if he currently as himself, yeah, he would be a great superhero for sure. Welp.
No hangout sessions? Did we overextend the time again?
We did, yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, we somehow keep doing that, I guess. All right. Well, that's fine.
Yep. Anything else you want to say?
Oh, yes. Actually, there are a couple other things that I wanted to mention. Some upcoming stuff.
Okay.
Some upcoming stuff. So this February 6th, which is on Sunday, is the ICFC Special Winters CVS2 1st to 10. And I just wanted to highlight that. That will be a really good match that will be on Majin Obama's Twitch channel, twitch.tv/MAJINOBAMA. And again, it'll be CVS2 1st to 10. It will be UWB versus Gao. And it's going to be super sick. Very interesting to watch. And then there's also going to be this weekend, Southeast Mayhem will be happening. February 4th to 6th. So that will be this full weekend. And this is notable because it's the people who were at CEO who were the older couple who played Marvel.
Oh.
Yeah, it's their event. They're working super hard on it too.
This is their event. Yeah.
Okay.
And it has about 100 people already attending. You can still sign up for it. Check it out. That will be in Georgia, in Tifton, Georgia. So if you are in that area, check it out. They got all sorts of games, basically all the main fighting games that you know and love, as well as some other stuff like Fortnite and Apex and Call of Duty, etc. But check it out. That's very, very cool. I hope that it goes well.
And obviously, some other important things too. Biken was released in Guilty Gear Strive. Have not had a chance to try Biken out. I did. So I haven't had a chance to test her out yet. I'm sad because I really want to test her out because she looks dope.
She is.
And then KOF 15, they decided to drop the whole DLC roster, like the first two teams, like already.
Is that the entire DLC for the first season? Or
they said it's the first Fighters Pass. They said there's a second one coming out later this year. I don't know if that means they're going to be two separate passes to buy or how that works, but that's what they said. So it looks like they have 4 teams planned for this year, which is, 12 characters, which is a lot. But yeah, so the first team announced was Team Garu, which is funny that they're delving into the Garu Mark of the Wolves because Fatal Fury is just called Garu. But it's Team Garu, and it's Rock, B Jenny, or B Janae, whatever it is, and Gato. And then the second team with the biggest glow up ever is going to be Team Southtown, which is the villains of Southtown, which are Geese, Billy, and Yamazaki for the first time officially together on a team. And that just makes my OCD happy. So, I love that. Just like when they put the Sacred Treasures on the same team. So I love the fact that they have Geese, Billy, Yamazaki on the same team. So that's coming out. Well, that's a great question, 16-bit, about how Rock can be fully grown and all that stuff like that. KOF 14 definitely established a reboot, kind of world-changing villain. So I think that they're using that to try to merge the timelines, because Fatal Fury and King of Fighters have separate timelines. They're actually on different multiverses. And so, I think they're actually trying to consolidate them all now with this.
Fighting game lore sucks.
Fighting game lore. As far as DLC reveal being before the game launch, I mean, whatever. That's the business practice of the modern world. We all know who that is or how that is. Fighting game developers need to make money. Games typically cost more to make than people expect to buy them for. That's the world, man.
Right. I mean, because that's the thing is that, Art of Fighting was supposed to be taking place like back in the 60s and the 70s. So Rio is not even supposed to be the same age as like Terry Bogard and those and such. So when they started making the story, like that's why like Geese is dead in the Fatal Fury timeline, but he's alive in the King of Fighters timeline. So again, it's just it's all, you know, different. So yeah, Art of Fighting 2, Geese is young. He's the main bad guy, and it's young Geese. Because it was supposed to take place. And in fact, Buriki 1 comes out and it takes place in modern times, and old Ryo is in it. So old man Ryo is one of the fighters in that game. So
Southeast Mayhem also has a bunch of pop bonuses for a bunch of the different games. So they're really putting their money in. They rented a hotel. Like it's a whole,
that's so
whole
cool.
big thing. Like check it out. And if you want to watch, you can watch it on the Twitch at twitch.tv/datafgc.
And also, Capcom Pro Tour posted up a bunch of their stuff. They're having a no neutral 5v5. I guess, what is this? Team Rob TV versus Team Brian F or something like that.
That's right.
It's how it's going to work. They've also posted up the matchups that'll be for the exhibition. Combo Breaker has an announcement of an announcement. We don't know anything about that yet. And finally, the DBFZ World Championship Finals hasn't been canceled, but has been postponed indefinitely.
Correct.
So we will see when that will actually finally be able to take place. So there's
your roundup. All right. Well, congrats to everybody for watching and for hanging out. Good job to you guys. Hey, man, I really had a good time at Frosty's over the weekend. It was super great. And I'm very excited to potentially go to more fighting game events, provided that they take safety seriously in the same way, which I hope and expect that they will. So
yeah, by the time we get to April of Texas Showdown, and you know, hopefully around May for Combo Breaker and such, hopefully, God, knock on wood. I mean, we've been saying this for 2 years.
Yeah, now. I mean, maybe the world's going to be bad, and even if it is, as long as they have the kind of precautions that Frosty's had, I'm planning to go.
Right. So. Alrighty. And again, for me, it's not even necessarily the events that I'm worried about. It's just like all the airplane travel and airports and all that stuff like that. But, you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes in any case. So I want to go back to majors. I mean, I already went somewhere in December, but that, again, that was before Omicron and stuff. And even that one I almost didn't go to. I remember it took you two to kind of convince me to go. So, you know.
Yeah. Look, we all have our different thresholds. It's no big deal. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get out of here.
All right, thank you guys. You know what? For the past few weeks, I've been forgetting to bird people. Should I bring back the birds here? Should
bird
I
them.
Good reminder, David.
Thank you guys for watching. Hope you do. Oh, by the way, I have new content on the YouTube channel. Check that out, please, where I talk about
Good video.
It really is good.
Why everybody's tier lists suck. So definitely check that out. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out and take care.